Okay, let me just check to see if our stream is live and on. Yes, I believe it is so. Okay, everybody, welcome to this very special session of the Thinkers Lounge Live. Today we have Kev the Renegade, all the way from the
Kev The
UK.
Renegade.
Yeah, he is a DJ, dancer, and coach. And yeah, today we will be talking about breaking, also known as breakdancing in the Olympics. We will talk about serious issues in the dance scene, and we will also be talking about. Ah, it just slipped my mind. What was the third thing we were going to talk
What
about?
was the third thing?
Uh,
um, um,
yeah, I should know what it is. But yeah, I mean, for the benefit of our audience, yeah, just share with us a bit of your history. I mean, it's very interesting seeing your background, being a DJ, a
yeah,
dancer, coach,
yeah,
and not only that, I've been following you for quite some time. I believe my first time encountering you was almost 8 years ago. I think it was through Breaking Convention or something
right,
like that
okay,
in the
yeah,
UK. Yeah. And then
yeah.
ever since following you, I see in your Facebook posts, you've got very deep insights. I can see that you're a very reflective thinker. But yes, I mean, share with us your journey on how you became a DJ, a dancer,
Mm.
and coach.
Well, the dancing thing starts as a kid, really. My family's from South America, so in the community that I grew up in, dancing and music and stuff is just part of the culture of growing up. Came back to the UK in the late 70s and then started doing dances that were happening in the UK. There used to be a reggae dance called skanking, which was
Okay.
like yeah, it was like a battle dance, like you face off with someone and you dance against each other.
Hmm.
And we had like a really healthy underground jazz, funk, boogie kind of dance scene as well. So that was when I was very, very young. Um, Watching American movies, we got exposed to things like The Robot. There was some lock-in in a movie called Penitentiary. And then around 82, the wave of what was to become hip hop came from the US to the UK. The first thing to hit the UK, really, I would say, was popping,
Mm.
because there was two events that happened that really kicked it off. There was Tony Basil had a special on TV. You know Tony Basil from the Lockers, of
Hmm.
course. So she had a TV special, and it featured Shabadoo, Poppin' Pete, Penguin, herself, and a guy named Spaz, who was also doing some street dance or whatever. So she had a special in March, I think, of 1982. And then in June 1982, Jeffrey Daniels of Shalimar went on TV on a popular music program called Top of the Pops. And he was doing like a pop-in solo. And then, of course, it just all took off from there. So that was like the first hip hop dance style that hit the UK, let's say. And then breaking arrives late 82, 83. There was the New York City Rap Tour with Rocksteady Crew, Grandmaster Caz, Futura and those guys, Soul Sonic Force, Bambata, and they all came over to do some shows in the UK. And there was like a little bit of TV coverage. There was stuff in the newspapers. And like we got the idea that something was happening. Do you know what I mean? By
Hmm.
83, then it goes into like almost we start seeing more and more stuff, right? You start seeing Wild Style, um, uh, Rocksteady Crew come back for, I think it's 83. I don't think it's as late as 84, but basically a scene starts to form in the UK. One of the hubs is Covent Garden, which is in London, and we start going there and dancers start to congregate, events start happening. And that's where my dance, hip hop dance history begins, around 82, 83. I continued dancing. I was in a few crews. I was a popper and a breaker, not so much a locker, although I did play with it. And of course I did like jazz fusion, and I did no, skanking was dead by then. But I danced for actively for 82 till 88, and then I stopped breaking. And I started DJing around 86 when I went to college. So I go to college in 86, and like you change the people that you hang out with. Mm-hmm. You know, the world had changed. Breaking was dying anyway in the UK. A few people were still going, but it was kind of dying off. And then by 88, it's like the door gets shut and it's finished, you know? And really a few people carry on, like Second to None and a few others carry on. Born to Rock. Yeah.
All right.
And then I start DJing, and then the rest is like, you're probably going to find out as we have a conversation, you know?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, I mean, so it's like through being exposed from all of these media, what you saw in the media, and then it hooked you in. Yeah.
Awesome. The whole country was exposed kind of around the same time, like within a year's time frame, I reckon. Mm-hmm. You know, like you have to remember, like there was only like 3 TV channels at that time. Mm-hmm. So whatever was on the media, kind of everyone saw. There wasn't really much choice. Mm-hmm. So everyone was exposed roughly the same time. And then it's just like, oh, I want to do that. I was 12 years old or 13 years old. And you just start doing this thing. And then everyone at school's doing it. And then you find out there's little communities here and there. And then you meet up with people. And it's in youth clubs, and it's in, you know, then people start throwing events, and then people start going to the events, and then the events get bigger. Then people invite over people from the States, and they turn up, and then they come to carnival, and just, yeah, it just goes mad and explodes. It literally is an explosion like they describe it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like, you know, I bet that through your time, you see the different cycles of the different styles gaining prominence, gaining momentum, and then eventually maturing and then dying out, like what you mentioned about skanking. So yeah. What keeps a style going while the rest dies off, from your experience?
I've got a couple of views on this, right? In the let's call it the diaspora of Africans, right? So the ones that end up in America, the ones that end up in Europe, the ones that end up in the Caribbean, yeah? There's this, we create dance styles all the time. We're still doing it now, right? Whether it's turfing or crump or whatever, we continuously do this stuff, right? And they last 2 summers or 1 summer, and then the next year it's the new thing, right? By some quirk of fate, some of these styles get exposed to the mainstream, and then they blow up, and then they turn into actual phenomenons, right? You'll get that with like tap and hoofing back in the early days in America. You'll get that with skanking from Jamaica. You'll get that with locking. Of course, that happened. Like locking wouldn't have gone anywhere unless it was featured on Soul Train, right? Like, how would you ever have known about this local dance that some guy made up? It just wouldn't have happened, right?
Yep.
So the media helped to expose these dances, which then turn into phenomenons, and then they die off, which is the normal cycle, right? And the cycle is extended, in my opinion, by the emergence and appearance of like events dedicated to those styles, and people who just can't let it go. I reckon, you know? Yeah. Without events, that breaking would never have come back as it did. No chance. It was dead. It was finished. Like, I'm not saying that everyone stopped breaking. Of course not, right? Like, we used to go to jams and there was 1 or 2 breakers, but that's not a breaking scene. I'm talking about a scene or a community or a movement. It's not the same thing. So when people like me use the term that breaking died in the 80s, what we mean is no one was doing it. Maybe 1 or 2 people, you know? Like if you think of in terms of language, like is Latin dead? We consider it dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
But people can still read it, and
Yep.
you know, ancient Greek, they can still read it. So is it still alive or is it dead? If there are no active speakers or active community, really, then it's a dead language. And breaking was a dead language at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and popping and locking, they were all dead at that time.
Mm. So would you say that in order for a certain culture or style to really survive, I mean, other than having a group of passionate people embracing the style, embracing the culture, essentially you also will need leaders within the community to step up and to ensure its continuity?
No, no. I think it's way more nuanced than that. I think it's very important to have events, right? So I don't know if we didn't have leaders as such. They were just people doing stuff. And then, you know, Thomas throws Battle of the Year and then people start going to the event. And like the first one would have been maybe 600 people. And then the next one might have been 800 people. Then the next one would have been 1,500 people. Like, I think the promoters play a bigger part than anybody else, if I'm honest. When I really think about, because I saw it come the first time to the rest of the world, not in America, obviously. And then I saw it die, and then I saw the resurgence, and I saw what the process was. And it was things like CH Fresh, which happened in Switzerland, and there was some breakers there, and those videos went around. So people are like, oh, people still breaking. I still like breaking, right? And then Battle of the Year starts in 1990 as a venue for people who still wanted to do this dead dance to congregate. And then by 92, it's actually something exciting. And then by 95, it's like, it's crazy. And then it just keeps growing from there. And other events start copying the format. And then you grow a scene out of it, right? If no one's throwing events, there's nowhere to dance.
Yep.
Right? No one breaks in clubs. No one was breaking in clubs in the early 90s anymore. There was no venue for it. Do you know what I mean? But these events created a venue for these dances to survive and to thrive even, you know, and for the word to be spread. So if you came to the UK at a particular time, like say when the Mop Top guys were coming to the UK, they knew there was clubs to go to, like the Hanover Grand or Samantha's or whatever, because there'd be dancers there or something, you know. So they're attracted to a scene of dancers. They're not just going to want to go out to drink, right? But if there's no clubs to dance in or no events to go to, like where are you going to get to share this stuff or to meet the people who do dancing still? Do you know what I mean? So promoters play a massive part, I think, in the survival of it, in the survival of these phenomenons.
Yeah. So I guess that there is that element of having that entrepreneurial spirit to be able to monetize that attention essentially and create.
But the thing is, I don't think the initial intention is to monetize it. I know Thomas personally, and I know it was just a case of he used to be a b-boy, right? He used to be in a crew called Burning Moves. And this is Thomas from Battle of the Year, right? That people think's never danced or whatever. It's like he used to be a b-boy. And then obviously when breaking died, he stopped. But he used to work in youth clubs. And there was pressure on him from people like do something for us. Do you know what I mean? And he's just like, yeah, let's throw an event and have all the breakers come down. And then it grows into something, you know? He didn't do it for money. He just did it for his community. And it grew into something, you know? Eventually money gets involved. But for the first 3 to 5 years, promoters lose money. Nobody's doing it for the money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's very much a very passion-driven kind of project.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And, you know, a lot of the promoters I know, the first few events that they threw, not only was it financially unrewarding, it was psychologically unrewarding because everybody's trying to get in for free. And, you know, like people give you shit because who do you think you are? You know, like it's actually a hard job to do.
Yeah.
You don't get any reward until way later, like way later.
Yeah. You really have to have that vision, that long-term vision of the community you want to build to really just
Yeah,
keep
for
pushing
sure.
forward. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
I mean, I understand that it can be a very thankless job, especially
Yes.
at the beginning. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Forever, because people, you're always going to get haters, right?
yeah.
But the noise of them goes down a bit more as you get
Hmm.
bigger and better or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So
What were you going to ask?
yeah, so I was going to ask how is it that breaking made it into the Olympics? Yeah, I believe that you were one of the proponents who were really pushing to get it in the Olympics.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Mm-hmm.
I'm a side effect. I don't care about the Olympics. I don't even care about us being in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are good sides and bad sides, of course. But when I was first informed about it being in the Olympics, I wasn't interested. Someone contacted me and they tried to get me to help. And I was just like, that's not really my expertise. Do you know what I mean? Like, go and talk to these guys, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up being on some sort of, let's call it committee, let's say, right? As on the judges committee of the committee or whatever, myself and Storm. But I wasn't pushing for it to get into the Olympics at all. I couldn't care less. My only caveat is that if it's going to be on that platform, it needs to be done what I feel is correctly, which is to maintain some of the values of our culture, right? Obviously, it's a sport, and in that context, and we're going to have to make some compromises. But my job is to be a breakwater, a barrier to the compromises that we make, right? I don't want it to end up being gymnastics and for it to lose its feeling, you know, like whoever chose for it to be in the Olympics, they liked what they saw. So don't change what you saw or don't have it. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So my feeling was, if you want it in the Olympics, this is how it should be presented. And if you don't want that, then you shouldn't have it in the Olympics because you're just going to spoil it.
Yep.
Right? And you're not going to spoil it for me or us, but you're going to spoil it for the people who think they're interested in that platform.
Yep. Yeah. So it sounds to me really you found it as your role to maintain the integrity and heart and soul of breaking, essentially.
Yeah. I think that's what my drive has always been. Like, even with my statuses and stuff, it's just like, yeah, we've got some of our own issues to deal with, education and stuff like that in our scene, knowledge and being aware of what's happening and being responsible and being professional and networking and all of the things that take you to the next level, in my opinion. I like to talk about those things, you know what I mean? So even with the Olympics thing, it's just like, yeah, it's great, but we need to be very careful before it gets spoiled, right? Yeah. And that's our responsibility as members of this community to be like, okay, you can have it, but you can only have it on our terms.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, one thing that really impressed me when I was in the UK, about 8 to 9 years ago, was how organized the community is, or at least there are aspects of the community that is really well organized, where you have really good and big events that engages people from all walks of life. And one of the segments that really jumped out to me in the breaking convention, I believe, was like you all even had a forum to discuss about the issues that the community is facing. I mean, when did this kind of format started popping up in the scene?
I think it's the UK, and I think that we've always had those kind of attitudes. Like, I mean, I don't want to boast about it or anything, but even if you look at UK's history, it's always been about that. I'm not talking about dance history. I'm just talking about history in general, you know, like Parliament and discussions, and, you know, a lot of the intellectuals of a certain age came from the UK. Do you know what I mean? A lot of the scientists of a certain age came from the UK. So that thing has always been there, you know, like when you look at like our history, like we've got the Newtons and we've got the Darwins and all that, they're all from the UK, do you know what I mean? A lot of physicists from that century, all from the UK, Bacon, it's all from the UK, you know? So those things happen in the UK, you know? We've always had panels and we've always had like sharing spaces and stuff like that. And from the beginning, we had decent events that were very well organized, considering, you know what I mean? Like, we've always had that. We always had that. Yeah. So then breaking convention was carrying on tradition, do you know what I mean? In that respect. Because we've it's healthy to have that, you know, so we can get the disagreements out and we can have high level discussions and try to see where things are going instead of just like noise everywhere. It's just like, no, come take part in the conversation. People can come and listen. People can come and add whatever, you know, like keep it all open. And I think that's definitely a UK thing, and France as well. Maybe it's a European thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
because France has that. I mean, Bruce has that with like Juice Debut and stuff. You know, like there are talks and stuff like that. It's like that healthy attitude. It's part of the European scene, I think. I think so.
Yeah. So it seems that I mean, it's always the case also where you need to have facilitators facilitating these conversations. Yeah. Otherwise, you will have egos coming in the way.
Well, you're gonna have egos, but those egos should be exposed to the public. Do you know what I mean? So that you can see if they're worth their ego. That's how discussion should work. You know, you see someone talking, you're just like, oh no, they don't know what they're talking about. You know, because people say things and don't do things that they say, and they'll expose themselves eventually. Always, you know.
Yeah.
And don't let me forget IBE. The same thing. The talk shows, the panels. You know, like it's very European thing to do, I think.
Yeah.
Not that anyone else doesn't do it, but it's very, very much part of an integrated part of our scenes in Europe.
Yeah. I mean, it's great to see that essentially the community has a certain level of transparency where ideas are able to flow freely. Essentially battle it out to see, you know, what survives.
Which ideas? Yeah. It's the rational way of doing things instead of the emotional way. And when you're dealing with certain things, it should be about rational thinking and not just like, you know, emotion and screaming and shouting at each other. Even though you're going to get some screaming and shouting in the rational debate, it should still be out there. Do you know what I mean? Like everybody thinks that there's these secret tables where these discussions are happening. It's just like, it's not really like that. If people ask, then they'll be told what's happening. But not everybody needs to know everything all the time. That doesn't even make sense. You're not everybody's ready for what's happening. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So of course there's going to be discussions that you're not privy to, but if you ask, you can find out. You know, like I was posting about what we were doing with the judging for years, like literally years, right? Super transparent I was, and people still asking me like, so what's happening? It's just like, I've been saying what's happening. Why are you not reading it? It's out there. You know what I mean? Like, we're not hiding anything. Storm did 8 videos on it. So he was the video guy and I was the writing guy. And it's just like, how can you still be confused? We've literally like listed out the steps that we took and everything. You can even do it yourself, you know, like you can reproduce what we did, add to it, take away from it, whatever. But we put that information out there for everyone, you know? So sometimes when I see people's statuses, I just find it comical. Like they're like, how's it going to be judged in the Olympics? This is like, the information's out there. What are you talking about? Even if they don't use our system, the information is out there, bro. It's so crazy to me. So crazy.
Yeah.
So crazy.
So would you say, I mean, how's the level of acceptance? I mean, since day one, when you started sharing it publicly about the process up until this point, has there been a certain level of acceptance, or is the resistance still as strong as in the beginning?
It's hard to tell, man. I mean, what people say behind closed doors and what they say to your face are two different things, you know, like, or what people say to you and what they're willing to say openly is two different things. So we get a lot of support, especially from high level dancers who don't want to be cheated anymore, right? But they're not willing to say it publicly, which is bad, but it's part of the games, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of support for these systems, or for the direction that we're moving in. Like a lot of high level dancers give us feedback, a lot. Most of the noise you hear is low level dancers, you know, most of the time. High level dancers come along to the events, get treated fairly. They see the transparency, they see it in action, and it makes sense to them. Do you know what I mean? The rest is just noise, man. It's just noise.
So what's the key framework that you all have come to a consensus upon after debating and working on it for all these years so far?
In terms of what?
The judging process for breaking.
I mean, our system's documented, and I think we've been very clear about our direction. That's not to say that everyone has to follow our direction or anything like that, but we're very clear about what we're trying to do. We're trying to improve the accountancy of judges. We're trying to find out who are consistent judges. We're trying to provide transparency through the judging system so people can see what's happening. Documentation, we've got loads of that. We're trying to provide statistics so you can look at the judging and make analysis yourself, right? You can see which judges are going where, which ones are being coherent. All of this is open for anyone to look at. Why did you freeze? You're frozen. Hello?
Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Did it freeze?
Got you back. Yep.
Yeah. So all of this stuff is out there. Our intention was just to provide transparency to judging, because it's too obscured when you got like 5 people sitting there or 3 people sitting there and just hands are pointing all over the place and hands are crossing all over it's a mess, man. Like we can't have that in any serious. We can't be serious about ourselves if we've got that low level kind of. It just doesn't make sense. The dancers come such a long way in 40 years. The events have come such a long way in 40 years. The knowledge and history and stuff has come such a long way in 40 years. And yet we're still judging with hands, just randomly, and no reasoning behind it. And judges really taking the piss, you know, like really taking the piss. Judging for their friends or throwing ties all day or whatever useless thing they do, you know, like. We have to get rid of that stuff, man. I'm sorry. I'm not afraid of saying it and putting my neck on the line saying it. Do you know what I mean? We have to stop being so childish about that stuff, so amateur.
Yep. Yeah. I guess it's, you know, it's just really being aware that as humans we are fallible, where, you know, we are subject to our own biasness, whether we want to admit it or not. But a framework helps us keep that bias in check in the transparent
and to be aware of it, because when you're judging, you're not even paying attention to what you're doing, right? So sometimes people have come to me before and said, why did we lose? And I'm just like, I voted for you. Why are you asking me why you lost? So they're not even paying attention to who's doing what. Whereas if you've got it in front of you, you can see, okay, Kev voted against us. Why did you vote against us? Then it makes sense. But so many times this happened when it's hands pointing all over the place, you know?
Yep.
Like, yeah, fuck Renegade. He never voted for us. It's just like, I was the only one that did. What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
But it's just such a mess. Do you know what I mean? So imagine someone's got beef with you for something that you didn't do. That's what's happening?
What's
going on?
Yeah.
So, you know, like, just get all of that out of here, man. Let's be serious about what we're doing. Like, not every event has to use systems or whatever else, you know. But not every event has to have a stage either. Not everything has to be the same, but for the high level things, it should be a stage or a stage place, and it should have a decent DJ, and it should have a decent judging system, and it should have a decent host as well, right? You shouldn't compromise on these things. You should not. You should not. And a judging system and good judges is way more important than a good host or whatever, man. Like, don't be silly. Or even a good DJ, right? You know, like, just play a mixtape and people will dance, whatever. They don't care. But the judging needs to be up there. You know, obviously you don't want anything to be crap, but the judging system is on the level of the rest. Good DJ, good host, good venue, good organization. Yeah. You can't pay more attention to the... No, don't worry. Don't worry. But, you know, like, it should have the same status as all of those things, man. Really. There's more money involved now, so it's just like, do you want to be cheated? No, you want some accountability in the judging, like. And I'm not saying that you go and you question the judges every second and blah 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 blah. I'm just saying, like, we need that feedback. We need to know what's happening, and everything needs to be transparent, really.
Yeah. And I guess that transparent feedback at the end of the day is also beneficial to those who are willing to learn and grow, right?
Yeah.
And but I guess one of the fears that people may have is that, will breaking then be defined by how what the Olympics defines it? You know?
Impossible. I think this is the silliest fear. And again, it disappoints me that some in our scene are so immature in their thinking. The Olympics is one event, man. And it happens once every 4 years. And it's really, really not going to be everyone. Like, really not going to be. It's going to be a tiny, tiny percentage of people that go to the Olympics. Let's be serious. Of all the runners in your country, how many go to the Olympics, bro? What percentage? 0.001? Like, has that changed the running scene? Like, it doesn't even make sense.
Yep.
You know, I do a classical martial art, right? And the UFC didn't change my attitude to the martial art I do. That's their venue, and I have my venue, which is my love for my art. Like, if you're into your art, what anybody else does it's not relevant. So either you like what you do, or you're just a trend follower. Like, yeah, I'm gonna change the break tip for the Olympics. Then you're a sellout. I don't care. Don't change your breaking. Do your thing. And if it's successful at Olympics, then fine. And if not, keep doing your thing, right? If you're only training to win the Olympics, then you're not into this art form, right? And if you're just into the sport of it, then I don't care. You have no impact on the scene, you know? Like, I don't care.
I guess it's for people to understand as well. I mean, essentially, you've got different platforms or different games to play.
Different games, different venues.
To play. Yeah.
Like, bro, I know some people who only dance for theater or for shows, right? So for TV shows or for shows in the West End, right? I never see them at events. I never see them anywhere. They just dance for this stuff, right? Or dance on TV in the background of somebody, right? They don't affect the scene. They're not even part of the scene like that. So I don't understand what this obsession with the Olympics is. Like, the Olympics is going to break everything. It's like, for who? What are you saying? And it's just like, yeah, but I guess they're saying that the exposure of it is going to be wrong, right? In their opinion, whatever right or wrong is, right? But it's just like, it's being exposed to people who would not be interested in breaking anyway.
Yep.
So who cares what they think, right?
Yeah.
Who cares?
So it's like, you know, what comes to mind is what the author of Still Like an Artist, Austin Kleon, he's saying that, you know, once you as a creative, once you put your art out there, it's totally out of your control
out of your
you
control.
want to interpret it or bring.
And nobody owns anything.
Yep.
You don't own anything. You don't own moves. You don't own anything. Like, stop. This idea is just so primitive to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, what the second you put it out in the open, it's not yours anymore. Doesn't belong to anyone or anywhere. We can always give credit to people. We can always give thanks to people or places, but it doesn't belong to anybody. Because without the rest of the world, it dies.
Yep.
Right? Locking dies with Don Campbell in 1971 or whatever. If he doesn't teach those people around him, and then they don't go on Soul Train, and then the rest of us get exposed to it, there's no such thing as locking. It doesn't exist. Without the New York City Rap Tour, and before that, without the Village Voice covering breaking, and before that, without Martha Cooper seeing breaking, it's born and dead by the 70s, by the end of the 70s. The New York City Rap Tour takes it around the world, which then gives you Beach Street and all these other movies, which then gives you all the crews around the world, or there's no breaking, bro. Doesn't exist.
Yeah. So
doesn't exist.
So yeah, I mean, since you mentioned about this obsession about ownership over moves or what you call it, so that reminds me of the other topic that we were supposed to talk about, which is cultural appropriation, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah. So with all this, one thing I noticed about the dance scene, I got into the dance scene well, at first because of breaking, and then after being on B-Boy World, bboy.org, that's where I got exposed to popping, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I really felt popping connect to me, and I was really enjoying the dance. But there's always one aspect of the popping community, well, in my opinion, right, or even the breaking community, from my experience,
all of them, they're all the same.
Yeah, is that there's this obsession of trying to define what breaking should be, what breaking shouldn't be, what popping should be, what popping shouldn't be, where I realized that once I was confined within that framework and thinking, my passion, my creativity just died for the dance. I forgot about why I got into it in the first place. Yes, it may be because it's the cool moves and all of that. But then once I got into the heart and soul of the feeling of the dance, then that really drove me, right? But then when I got trapped in that framework, it's like, it just sapped the life out of me, essentially. So so how can a dance continue to develop and grow itself beyond its initial definitions, as the community tries to confine it to be?
Okay, so I'm probably going to get in trouble for all this, but whatever. So I've got a number of views on this, and they all exist in my head, and they all contradict each other. And that's the problem sometimes. You have these things, and you're just like, yeah, I see that. Oh, but I see that. And I also see that. Okay, so, whew, boy. When these dances are formed, there's no such thing as foundation. It's just people experimenting. Every style starts off as experimental. They're not even styles yet. Most of them don't even have a name for like 5 years, right? If you look back, they don't actually have names until someone calls it something and says, do that, and then they name it. And then the person says, okay, I'll take that name, whatever, right? Whatever it is, right? Like, think of crumping. When was crumping named?
No.
Because it was after clowning. But what did Tommy call it in the very, very beginning? He was just an entertainer. He didn't have a name, right? And then it became something. And then it became something else. And then it keeps evolving. So these dances do keep evolving.
Yep.
I find it weird that dances that are based in freestyle, creativity, experimentation, and expressing yourself have such tight boundaries. It's very confusing because in the initial stage, people can do anything. You can do anything, right? If you think about early generations of b-boys, the dance they did doesn't resemble the dance we do. Theirs was far more character-based, right? When I see or speak to the guys of that generation, theirs was more about doing a quick skit, you know, like jumping on the floor, swimming, running around in a circle on the floor, taking a cigarette and doing it's like more of that. And then soon moves start to happen. And then soon more moves start to happen. And it turns more and more, the vocabulary grows. Some things are even retired. Like nobody does that stuff anymore, right? So the dances grow. Along the way, there's always resistance, right? And I think part of the testing of new ideas is that resistance. And if you can survive that resistance, then it gets added to the canon of the style. That's been my observation, right? So someone comes out and does stuff that people are like, oh, that's not real popping, that's not real this, that's not real that. And then some of them go away. Like I would say someone like Rubber Legs in the breaking scene went away, which was bad for the breaking scene, I think, because he had ideas and concepts that are part of breaking now, but they resisted and forced him out of the scene, right? But his ideas are still here, right? So I think that part of it is fighting against the resistance until your ideas are accepted as canon, right? I think that's part of the testing, maybe. And not everybody can take it. Not everybody can pass that testing phase, right? And then styles grow, vocabulary grows, music changes. We've seen that. Because when people first started playing that different music, there was resistance, right? And some of us, like myself and Doc and Romento and Batsu and I don't know who else, but we resisted. We said, no, we're not playing more bounce to the ounce anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like we resisted and we pushed. And eventually, like everybody starts playing that stuff and it becomes normalized, right? So you have to fight for your acceptance. Because if we'd given up, we'd still be dancing to Flashlight, right? If we hadn't pushed. Then on the other side, it's like you should be resistant to new ideas because your art should have framework, or else people can just do any old shit and call it art, as we see happen in the actual art world, where people just like throw paint on the floor and say it's art and it's worth $1 million.
Stick a banana to the wall.
Yeah. You still have to have a framework. It should be loose around the edges, but you should still have a framework. Or else, what's the difference between popping and locking and breaking and house? You know, like there are differences, and those differences wouldn't exist if it was just, oh, that's just dance. Like, what are you saying? Right? Humans like to categorize things, right? And we like to categorize into smaller and smaller groups. So you've got house music, okay, and then you've got deep house, then you've got tech house, then you've got this house, Afro house, right? We like to have that. They're all under one big umbrella, and then we have the details below, and then we've got even more details down below, right? So you're probably gonna have Afro house that's from Angola. You're gonna have Afro house that's from South Africa. You know, like they're gonna be further and further divisions, and that's how humans are. That's how our brains work.
Yeah.
Right? So it's part of it.
Yeah, that brings to mind really the concept of evolution and memes, essentially.
Yeah.
Right. So it comes to a certain point where you've got this branch, and what I imagine is certain characteristics is accepted within that
Yes.
branch, and then we call it
Yeah.
breaking. And then if it's too far out from that definition, then it branches out to its own style, or
Yes. Yes.
even sub-style, right? And then of course there are those that dies off. So I guess, yeah, I mean,
for me, it's like the difference between a cult and a religion. Right? It all starts off with one person with an idea, who then gets some followers, and then those followers either grow or they die off. And if you're under 1,000, maybe you're a cult. And then by the time you're 1,000,000, you're definitely a religion.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then even within that, if we keep the religious analogy, you're going to get offshoots. Presbyterian, Catholic, Anglican, and they all kind of share a underlying belief, but the differences, the doctrinal differences are very different. Like war different. They'll go to war for these ideas, right?
Yep.
And we have the same thing in the dance scene. Like people are willing to fight you because your idea of breaking is different from theirs. That's how ridiculous we are, you know? Like what is happening? Or that your idea of popping is different. Like it's completely crazy.
Yep.
Completely but it's human nature, so it's not even like it's odd. It's very normal, even though it's crazy. Right? To answer your question or your observation that you stopped enjoying it when there were so many boundaries, I would just do my own thing. I wouldn't even want to share with people who are not open. So I would separate myself and do my own thing. I don't need to be part of a community. Do you know what I mean? Like, if the community is closed and closed-minded, then I don't want to be part of that. I'll just do my own thing. It's fine. Maybe build your own community of popping-based new ideas or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like these things, they're not in boxes and they're not owned by anyone. So no one can come to your house and knock on your door and say, "This isn't right. You have to stop doing this." Like, no chance.
Yeah.
No chance whatsoever. So you should just be able to do what you want.
That's right.
Just don't claim that it's that thing. That's where I draw the line.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
You can call it your own style of whatever.
Yeah, inspired by.
Inspired by. This is one problem I had with the people who speak out against dubstep dance. Right? Because on the one hand, they were saying it's not popping. And then on the other hand, they were saying, you can't call it dubstep dance. It's just like, but you said it's, what is that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you push them out.
Yeah.
And then when they decided to do their own thing, you're like, no, you're popping. You just named it wrong. It's just like, but you said it wasn't popping. What is it?
Yeah.
Because dubstep dance became big. And you feel left out, maybe. I don't know. Like, wow, how are they getting more views than me? It's just like, they didn't choose that. People will watch what they want. If they get more popular and they've got 1 million views and you've got 1,000 views, like, you can't blame them for that. That's like blaming the winners of a competition when it's the judges that made the decision, you know? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's very silly, man.
It is, yeah. I mean, I remember when I started getting into the dance scene back in 2005 or 2006. Then during that time, breaking was really popular. Popping was just coming up in Malaysia, and then suddenly there was shuffling, right? And then yeah. And then so you
UK baby.
Yeah, so we in Malaysia, my experience was, there was this resistance essentially to say, oh, that's not a proper dance and all that. What are you doing and all that? But I mean, look at where we are today, right? Widely accepted and embraced, especially in the TikTok.
It has to go through that. It has to get that testing stage. When breaking first came to the UK, I've said this before. The people of my sister's generation, my sister's 5 years older than me, they're like, that's not dancing, right? Even popping, which is more of a dance than breaking, right? They were just like, you're just jerking around like you're sick. That's not dancing. She's only 5 years older than me.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, imagine that. Like, you have to fight. No, I'm gonna do this. This is, And they're just like, that's not dancing, man. Like, that's some crap. That's rubbish.
Yeah.
Until it gets accepted, you know?
Yep.
And then it's like, yeah, it's okay. I accept it.
Yeah. I think like what you shared about the dubstep dance, I think essentially it's wired in our human nature to want to be part of a tribe, you know, to be accepted, and then you embrace a certain label and say, okay, I'm part of this tribe. But then there's always that inner rebel, that creative spirit that wants to try something different. And then if it's too far off from the tribe, you have a choice. You either try to convince the community to embrace it, or you
do your own thing from your own tribe.
Yeah, you take the risk to be willing to plant your flag on the ground and say, hey, you know,
this is my land.
My land, my own path.
Yeah, and we've always done that. As humans, that is part of our nature, you know. And then there's the ones that don't have that, and they just stay in the tribe like robots, and that's also normal. I don't have a problem with either of them. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's your choice.
Yeah.
I only have a problem with ignorance. That's it. Like, don't ignorantly do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Apart from that, I don't care what anybody else does. No, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. So I mean, in the world we live in today, especially in the social media and globalized community, where everybody is so interconnected, cultures are shared across borders. You know, what are your thoughts about this whole concept of cultural appropriation, where, you know, people say, oh, you know, we own this thing, you know,
you're trying to get me in trouble, bro. Fucking hell. You're really trying to get me in trouble, man.
Welcome to the Thinkers Lounge.
Oh my God. Bro, it's oh my days. Okay, so I think it's crap. Yeah. I think it's crap, bro. And I'll tell you why. What ethnicity do you think I am? If you look at me, what am I?
Yeah, if I were to look at you, I would think that you're black.
What does that mean?
Of African roots and origins would be
which African country?
That's where I can't differentiate beyond that. Yeah.
Which tribe in that African country? Where are you from, bro?
Yep, I'm from Malaysia.
But you're Chinese Malaysian, right?
Yep.
Which part of China?
Yep. Okay.
Which tribe? Are you Han Chinese, or are you one of the other tribes?
Yeah, one of the Teochew tribes. Yep. So
which parts of the culture are you allowed to express?
Yep. Yeah. So yeah.
And only you. I mean, can I express any of those? Because I'm into Chinese kung fu. Like, am I allowed? I'm not sure. Who do I have to check with? Is there like a board I have to sit in front of? Yeah. Is there a council? And I have to make an application, and they say, Kev, you can now speak Chinese. You can now do kung fu. You can now wear kung fu slippers. It's fine now, right? That's how stupid it sounds to me, bro.
Yeah.
So I'm actually not black. I'm only half black. The other side of me is Indian. Right? So I have a son, 2 sons. One is half white. What is he? Which parts of my culture is he allowed to, and which parts of his mother's culture? Because he's from Poland. He speaks Polish. Like, is he allowed 50% of Polish cultural representation and 1/4 black? But he can then plait his hair. He can cane row his hair because he's part black, and he can eat curry because he's part Indian. Like, what is this? What is this, bro? You see a white woman with dreads, and it's just like, oh, she can't wear that. I'm like, what is happening in our brains right now? What is going on? Okay, so the problem arises because some people feel that, and it's always black and white, right? It's never anything else, right? But they feel that when black women do a certain thing or black men do a certain thing, it's looked down upon. And when white people do that same thing, they're celebrated for it, right? So for ages, having big lips or whatever was looked down upon. And then when white women juice their lips up, then it's sexy. Having a shapely body with a fat ass was looked down upon, but now it's fashionable for white women. It's like, it's all the rage, okay? I do have some sympathy with this view, but I also don't give a shit. Just do what you do and look after your own shit. Yes, there was a time when black women couldn't wear their hair naturally and got penalized for it. And now they can wear their hair naturally, and white women wear their hair like black women used to and get celebrated for it. The world's changing. The world is changing. And what are we going to do about that shit? Like, history is history. There's nothing we can do about that stuff. But it's just like, you're just going to call people out, but you're not calling everyone out. You're just calling certain people out for doing certain things. And it's a mess. It's inconsistent. And my brain doesn't like inconsistencies. It really winds me up, these inconsistencies, because let's take hip hop. Hip hop is cultural appropriation. We didn't invent turntables, bro. We didn't invent turntables. So take the turntables out of hip hop. We didn't invent that electronic music. That is England and Germany. Right? All of the instruments you make electronic music with it is invented by a Japanese or Germans or English. So if you use their tools, you are culturally appropriating, right? Like, how silly can we get with this?
Yep.
How silly. If you wear shoes when you break in, you are culturally appropriating. Like, it's silly because you can keep just navigating until you're offended by something. But you just stop where your offense is the highest, you know? Like, you're in the oppression Olympics, and it's just like, yeah, but they did this and they did that. And it's just like, and so did we to some people. And so did some people to us. And so did some people to them. And like, everybody punished everybody at some time in history. Like, can we move on from that? Do you know what I mean?
That's right. Yep.
Right? Like, how did your family end up in Malaysia?
Yep.
Go back to China. You don't deserve to be in Malaysia. Like, how silly is this?
Yep.
You know, and then when are you Malaysian? Are your parents Malaysian?
Yeah. So
are they?
Yeah. So they're both of Chinese descent as well. Yeah.
So you're not Malaysian.
Yeah. So
right, it's crazy, bro.
Yeah. So I guess that's the challenge where we from like my personal experience as Malaysian, you know, we are in this cultural pot where because it's with all of these different cultures coming in, with the dominant culture being the Malays, and then you've got the Chinese and the Indians all coming into one, and of course the other cultures as well, and races, is that we do not have a clear definition of what the Malaysian identity is, right? Everybody's trying to define what is it like to be Malaysian, right?
Yeah.
But one thing Malaysians always come together with is food.
Food, right?
Yeah. So once
food's the best.
Yeah. So once our neighbor Singapore starts claiming that, oh, what food is there? Oh, this is where we Malaysians come together. Say,
right, hey. But you see what it is, right? It's tribalism, and tribalism is so low level.
Yep.
It's so low level. Like, tribalism is racism. yeah, I don't like all this stuff at all. Like, I'm definitely of the Western mind that it's about individuals first, right? That's the lowest unit of a person. And I'll start as an individual and then I'll be part of a tribe, and it goes that way. It's not that I'm a tribe and then I work down to an individual. No, not at all. The individual is the most important unit. It's about individual rights, not tribal rights or anything else. I don't subscribe to that at all.
Yeah. So
right?
how is it that you personally got to this realization or revelation, or do you feel that you have always thought this along those lines?
I think so. I've always been a little bit of a renegade, right? I hated that name at first, but it fits so much now that I'm older. I think I've always done my own thing and walked my own road. I think that's always been a thing. And I've been part of collectives, but I don't let the collective think for me. I don't let the collective dictate to me. You know, I'll walk away from anything in 1 second. 1 second, for sure.
Yep.
If it goes too far and I'm just like, no, I'm out. No, this is unacceptable. Because for me, that's super important. Not just to follow along in the stream, just because everybody else is doing that. I don't rate that at all. And I think I've always been like that. And I guess as you get older, you realize yourself, you know? Maybe when you're younger, you make more compromises. But as you get older, you come into your power and you're like, this is what I'm willing to accept. And these things I'm not going to accept. And then you walk away from bullshit situations.
Yeah.
And I think that's either part of your character or it's not. I don't think it's, I don't know, because I'm like that. I don't know if it's something you can train people to be like. I've no idea. But to be an independent thinker, you have to be educated. You have to read philosophy. You have to understand history. You have to have an appreciation of things. Do you know what I'm saying? Or else I don't think you can access that part of your brain, the abstraction part, you know, for ideas and stuff like that. All of these things, I think, yeah, maybe I've always had, because I liked maths and stuff like that. So maybe it wires your brain in a certain way where you don't just act on emotion or whatever. But yeah, I think I've always been like this, man. Really.
Yeah. And then would you say then that it would require a person to have a certain level of self-worth or a self-image to be able to be an independent thinker?
Yeah. And I do think that is programmed from young. My parents always encouraged me to think for myself and to do for myself. Always. Both of them are like that. You know, like my dad especially was encouraged me to be independent and not to compromise and to challenge myself, because he would challenge me. You know, like when you're a teenager and you come with these funny ideas or whatever, and you think you've discovered something new, and you say to your dad or whatever, you're like, yeah, but did you know this? And they're just like, but have you thought about this? And you're just like, no, I didn't. Maybe you have to run away into the corner and then read some more. And then you come back and you think you're smarter. And my dad wasn't educated like that, right? Like he's from the old world, where it was just like you started work at 14 and then you worked until you died, you know? But the concept of questioning what you think you know, you don't need to be educated to do that, right? It's just that you have to trigger that every time and not be afraid of where it might take you. Because sometimes it takes you to uncomfortable places, you know? Because I signed up for all this stuff at the beginning, for cultural appropriation and racism doesn't mean, like, people of color can't be racist because racism is prejudice plus power. I signed up to all of this shit until I sat down and thought about it. And then I saw that other people thought about it the same way. Like, this is nonsense. This is doublespeak. This is ridiculous. You know? So some people are still in that box where they're thinking like this. But for me, it's just like, you haven't thought about what you're saying.
Mm.
Words mean things, and they mean things, you know? Like, you start using double speak and people don't know what you mean, and then you get into more problems, you know? So yeah, I think my parents really encouraged me to think independently, and I have like, there's 6 of us, like me, my brothers and my sister. And when you're in a big family as well, there's like a lot of space for debate, discussion, disagreement, and just healthy growth. Do you know what I mean? As an individual in a tribe, that's then part of a bigger tribe, which is your community, which is then part of a bigger tribe, you know? So like, from early, we were having discussions and everything like that, you know?
Yeah. So that's an interesting insight where you say that with a big family, you've got a lot of space for opposing views, conflicting views to really come together.
And like, really, like, I didn't speak to one of my brothers for 2 years once. You know, like, that's testing. That's very testing. That is very testing. Like, it's not like a friend. You know what I mean? Like, friends come and go. Your family, you're kind of stuck with. So resolving issues like that is very important. And to understand that issues like that is very important, because then it helps you to be able to resolve things in the bigger world. Do you know what I mean? And come to terms with certain things in the world. So yeah, being in a family of a size, it's very useful training for later, for sure, you know?
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah. And yeah, so I mean, so throughout all of these years, or in recent years, what are some of the biggest paradigm shifts that you have had to make, and that really shifted you to another level of perception or how you operate?
It's constantly happening, but I would say definitely the judging thing was one of them, because I was resistant to judging systems at the beginning, like everybody else. And then I sat with myself and I thought about it, and then it made sense, and then I was committed to it. My attitude to, I was also anti-Olympics at the beginning, not vocally, because I'm not an idiot, but yeah, because those things come to bite you on the bum. Do you know what I mean? Like, people are always quick to say what is and what isn't. And then a couple of years later, it's just like, did you say this? Right?
Yep.
And I've come to accept that it's going to happen, and there's nothing we can do about it. So you either help the process, you ignore the process, or you piss in the wind shouting at something you can't change. And I'm not about to do that. I don't care about doing that, you know? Certain friends I had to let go that were friends for 30 years or whatever. You just diverge in your way of thinking and your way of being, and you just got to let that stuff go. Certain people that were on the periphery became closer friends. One sec.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, go on. My understanding of history, politics, economics, and that stuff has really changed how I look at the world. The most recent change has been watching this, the rise of the regressive left, let's call it. Like, all of this language control and all of these kind of discussions that are starting to happen, they scare me a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't say certain things because you might offend someone, and all of this stuff. It's a slippery slope to fascism for me. You know, like, you can't do certain things, you can't say certain things, you can't, or else you get chucked out the tribe.
Yep.
You know, you chuck everyone out the tribe and it's just you one left. You know, it's very strange. It's very, very strange. It's very scary, and I can see it happening from the political sphere to our own dance sphere and stuff. You know, cultural appropriation is part of this discussion for sure. It's like, oh, this person can't do that because of this. It's just like, whoa, who set you up as the council? you know?
Yep.
It's very odd to me. And like, it's concerning.
Mm.
And at the same time as that, ignoring other abuses.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like real abuses.
Yep.
Yeah, like be consistent. If you're gonna speak out, then speak out about everything, not just your little favorite thing that gets you attention or likes or social currency. Like be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Be consistent. And a lot of people are speaking before they have knowledge, which is bad.
Mm.
Yeah.
So even with this sort of realization of essentially the pressure of people defining, oh, what you can say or cannot say, do you find yourself also self-censoring in certain situations?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. You have to.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. And it's not because, I wouldn't say it's because, so there's two parts of this, right? Because you don't want to offend anybody, but I mean, we're a little bit hypocritical, bro. We've got music that's like, bitch, nigga, motherfucker, suck my dick, my wet ass pussy. And then at the same time, we're saying that don't disrespect women or something. It's just like, what? You know? Or like cultural appropriation and 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 uh and people of color, black awareness and everything. And then you like our music is still full of this junk that we sing along to and that we still play.
Mm.
Like, do you think that's not going in your head? What
Mm-hmm.
do you think is happening?
Yep.
You know? So like in our music, we're calling women bitches all the time. So if you slip and you say, yo, bitch, shut the fuck up. Like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
I've been singing that song for 6 weeks already.
Yeah.
And you didn't say, you know what I mean? It's just like,
Mm.
it's just one big mix up of inconsistency. Like either we cut it out or we let it happen. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, but I just find it hypocritical.
Yep.
I find it hypocritical, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I know we're going to get onto the topic, but the recent thing with Crazy Legs or whatever, right? It's just like, what are we saying exactly here? I need to know the details before I speak on it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone be girl anonymous or whatever. This is not good enough for me, bro. I can't speak on that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't speak on that. That could be a hater. That could be a guy, right? Just creating an account. That could be someone who's read accusations and is just adding to the noise by saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea.
Yep.
Either come forward or don't come forward.
Mm-hmm.
Put your name to your face. Put your face to your name.
Yep.
Like make the claim. Do you know what I mean? Nobody can touch you. It's not fucking Middle Ages. Right? There are loads of structures in place to protect people. Protect them from what? I have no idea. But we really have to start looking at this. You can't just claim something and then it's just like, yeah, fuck that guy. It's like, no. We need more than that. For me, now there's more than that.
Yep.
And I've taken my path, right? Which is the same as, I guess, other people. There's still kind of a mix because there's still people who support, I guess, what he's done. And then there's people who've taken the other route. I don't support what he's done. I've never supported that kind of shit, you know? I don't even understand the mentality of it. And I talk shit. But there's still lines I won't cross. Right? Don't be touching girls that don't want to be touched. Don't be trying to get them drunk. Don't do anything like that, you know? A few harsh words or a few disrespectful words is not the same as assault. Like, we need to stop putting everything in the same box. It's very strange, and it's just going to destroy the whole movement, right? I saw it happen with the Me Too movement. Like, everybody and their dog starts saying that this has happened to them and that's happened to them, and then it just becomes a lot of noise. The signal gets lost, and the movement's dead.
Yep.
And who did they catch? One guy, Harvey Weinstein. That's it. Am I supposed to believe he's the only one? Am I supposed to believe that? Am I supposed to believe that Legs is the only one? Really? I don't think so, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now the rest are going to be able to get away with it or whatever because there's just so much noise everywhere.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
Because everybody's going to start pointing the finger at everyone. Oh, there was this one time and that guy said this to me. And I feel like, oh my God, what's happening here?
Yep. So, yeah. So there has to be, I guess also in a way it's that, yeah, like what you mentioned is that slippery slope where definitions get so broad, so wide that it doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything anymore, which is why we need those smaller categorizations. There's a difference between a player and a creep and a beast and an abuser.
Yeah.
And someone who sends dick pics. I don't know what the category of that is. Maybe we need a new one. Unsolicited dick pic category, whatever that is. Like there's all different ones and they're all different types of abuses. And some are way more abusive than others, right?
Yep.
Walking up to a girl, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not supporting any of this. And saying, yo, baby, what are you saying? This is not the same thing, man. These are cultural norms in some places. You can't run around saying that they're doing the wrong thing. That's because then you have to say that about everything, right? Because then I have to get at Muslims and I have to get at Christians and I have to get at everybody that deals in thought control. Right? So then where are we now? We're in thought control zone. So I can't even express myself, rightly or wrongly, in the way that my culture does, because you've decided that the council say you can't do that. What is going on?
Yeah. So,
and yet, like I said, our music is still full of that. Our music videos is still full of that. Our television is still full of that. It's just like, you can't keep an eye on yourself all the time, bro. I've said some dumb shit in my time. Dumb shit to women, dumb shit to men, dumb shit to everybody. Because it's just like when you grow up in the hood, that's how you speak to each other. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But we're talking about that versus, have you ever assaulted a woman? Nope. Have you ever done this to a woman? Nope. It's completely. Have I ever made a woman feel uncomfortable? Yeah, probably. I'm not keeping an eye on myself like that. I've made men feel uncomfortable. I'm not keeping an eye on myself like that. You know, like you walk into a room and there's another guy or something like that, and you both give each other the eye, and you give him the more eye, like, yo, I'll fucking knock you out, bro. Right? That's super abusive. It's like we've all done that, I'm guessing, or been the victim of that. Do you know what I mean? Like I've been walking down the road before, and you meet eyes with someone, and they say, "Who you looking at, bro?" And you either look away or you say, "You what?" And then he walks away, right? These things happen all the time. All the time.
Yep.
Is he an abuser? Am I an abuser? What's happening here? Let's not get confused what this is. Now, if he's there and I'm going to punch him in the head for no reason, then we're in a different realm of abuse right now, right? Yep. So let's get the definition sorted out. Let's decide what's punishable by death and what's punishable by getting chucked out the tribe and what's punishable by ignoring. And, you know, like, let's decide what the rules of this game are, or else everyone's going to be afraid to speak and everybody's going to be pointing the fingers at each other. Like, oh, I heard you did this. And like some of the people I've seen comment on the Crazy Legs position situation, they've got skeletons in their closet, bro. And they're trying to deflect.
Yeah, it's virtue signaling.
It's virtue signaling, as you know, right? And the worst thing about virtue signaling is that you've personalized it. If you talk in general about the concept of it, then I support that.
Yep.
Right? But if you start saying pointy finger shit, then it's just like, yo, the finger's going to be pointing at you soon. Because someone somewhere you will have offended.
Yep.
Or done some dumb shit with. Right? Like, what percentage of men have hit a girl? A big percentage, I'm sure. I'm very sure. That girl comes forward and she's like, yeah, he hit me and I haven't recovered since. I'm still damaged in the head, or whatever it is. It's just like, well, he's out the tribe. No, it can't be like that. It just cannot be like that. If he's a serial abuser, then we've got a problem. But that's different from someone got angry one time and hit somebody, right? Because I've done that before. I've whacked someone in the head, a guy in the head. That's no different from a girl, right? Like, it's slippery slope, man. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, I mean, it's dangerous to really allow cancel culture to really come in, and then
and this is the regressive left. This is the regressive left I'm talking about. You know, it's the cause of the resurgence of racism, right? Because I mean, I'm from a relatively racist country, right? It's in the fabric of the UK. As someone who's traveled the UK, I can tell you, it's institutionalized and in the fabric of the UK, right? Most white, not most, but many white people in the regions haven't met black people or have a lot of experience with black people. And they're now being told that they're the reason that black people can't get ahead. It's just like, I've never met a black person. How am I being blamed for this? Right? And what's the reaction when you get accused of something you haven't done? It's anger. Like, fuck that. I'm not being told what to do. I haven't done anything to anybody. So then there's now a hook for the far right and whatever to get into. Like, yeah, you see those people, they're blaming you and you've got nothing. It's a problem, man. It's a real problem. So the backlash, the backlash is Trump. The backlash is the Polish guy. The backlash is the it's all over Europe right now. Fuck the Dutch guy. It's like, it's growing because people they're being accused of things they didn't do. You know, and it's easy to say, oh, your ancestors, but nobody wants to hear that if they're hungry. Nobody wants to hear that shit. They're just like, no, just no. Get the fuck out of here then. Fuck. Right?
I think it's dangerous or sad to see where I think typically where people towards the center, you know, when they get fed up, they get pushed towards the extremes because of the dynamics. And I think one of the key things is that there's a disconnect. For example, when you talk about the language that's used in hip hop, you know, you've got the words that's used, and then you've got the intent underlying it, right? And I think that gets lost in the conversation. You know, what about the intent? And I mean, I grew up with hip hop music since I think it was 2001, 2000. So I was listening to like Tupac, Dr. Dre, Eminem, all of them during that time. And then, you know, you keep hearing the N word being right. And then so we grew up, you know, me and my cousins, we grew up with that within the context of how it's used. You know, because within the context of hip hop, it's like, hey, you know, bro, right? So that's how
it's the equivalent.
That's how we would mimic, and you know, we would refer to each other that way, right?
And this is normal.
Yep.
If you don't understand the cultural context, like the Americans are so full of shit sometimes. They think the whole world understands their trouble. It's just like, bro, nobody knows about your history. They know there was slavery, I guess. There was a thing called slavery and blacks were slaves in America. Yeah, I heard about that, but you don't know about it. Do you know what I'm saying? So then when you hear these words, my nigga, my bitch, my this, my that, you're just going to be like, yo, what's up, my nigga? I've heard it when I was in China and all these places. They don't know anything about American history. Like, not at the level that they would need to not use the words colloquially. Why would they? Why would they? Doesn't make sense. Like, when I was growing up, you would call people a Jew boy. You can't say that shit now. I didn't know anything about the Holocaust or anything like that. Like, I knew about Second World War. I knew about The Great Escape and Guns and Navarone and these movies, but I didn't understand the context of using terms, you know, like, how would you? And then what, are you gonna have a go at me like when I don't understand, instead of trying to explain it to me? You can't just go straight on the offensive, like, yeah, you're to blame and your ancestors and blah blah blah, and you wouldn't have today without that and this, and it's just like, what are you talking about? I don't have anything today. What is he saying? It's absolutely insane, and it's destroying the conversation. It's completely destroying the conversation when it's just attack positions, you know. Again, with the dance thing, it's just like, that's not real popping, that's not real. It's like, what is happening right now? Explain your idea, and then I can understand it, and then I can either agree or disagree or separate myself from the community or whatever, right? It's just like, what is this super offense at stuff? It's fucking weird, bro. It's very weird, you know?
And I mean, like, from my experience is that personally, you know, I mean, I've gotten to the point where, you know, I don't take offense to things that, even though underlying it, the intent is to offend. I feel that we as a society have to come to that stage as well of realization that we are in control of how we respond to people. You know, we need to start responding rather than reacting, you know, to all this external stimuli. It's like, you know, so what if people say I'm a chink, or, you know, like what you said, you know,
get over it,
immigrants,
man.
and all that. It's like, you know, I mean, it's reflective of where they're at, and, you know, we are going through this human experience. They are where they're at, you know. It's okay, you know, we move on. We don't react, we don't escalate it, you know. And
no, there's no point. And the fact is, like, someone calls me a nigger or whatever else, right? Depending on the situation, it's just like, what difference does it make? Like, what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't resonate with me. Do you know what I mean? Like, what does that mean? When I was a kid, it affected me a lot more. But now I'm older, I'm just like, what does that mean? I don't know what it means. Like, you don't like me? Like, do I care if you like me or not? I don't know what it means, you know? It needs to mean something for me to be affected by it. It needs to say something to me, you know? Like, I don't care about that shit. You know, I'll punch you in the head. It doesn't matter to me.
Yep.
Do you know, if I feel offended, I'll punch you in the head. But then that goes somewhere else, you know? Then I'm in trouble or whatever. Like, is it worth it? Nah, not over a word. I don't think so. Whatever.
I mean, for me, I come from the seminar industry, personal development, right? And one of the sayings they have, I believe it was T. Harv Eker that shared this, that life has no meaning except for the meaning which you give it.
I've heard that before.
And
you let things affect you that don't need to, because you're stuck somewhere bad, I think. You know, like, everybody's offended about everything. It's just like, you don't need to be outrage and offense, right? At everything. Like, you're making yourself sick, man. Because the body is the type of organism that is affected by thoughts and environment and all of this stuff, right? So if you keep feeding yourself negative thoughts that are triggered by someone else, you're going to be in problems. You're going to be in problems, you know? And it's funny to me, right? Like, someone needs to do a proper study. There's a rise in stuff like cancer and all this, and they want to blame it on, like, meat and all this kind of shit. We've been eating meat for millions of years, so it's not that. It cannot be just that. Yes, we are eating too much meat, okay. But that cannot be the only variable, the only factor. What about the stress brought on by modern living, the
Mhm.
interactions on social media, the outrage that people feel constantly, this must have an effect on our organism.
Mhm.
It must do.
Yep.
You know, forming these new tribes. I mean, in America right now, half the country is talking about civil war.
Mhm.
Like, you cannot tell me that that's not affecting you, your well-being, your mental state, and ultimately your health. You cannot tell me that. I refuse to believe it.
Yep.
All of this stuff has a knock-on effect. All of it.
Yep. Yeah.
You can't unsee or unfeel something.
Mhm.
So once you start exposing yourself to these new, it's not healthy. It's not healthy.
Mhm.
I see people sometimes, they're posting outrage every week. Something's the new outrage. And it's just like, 1 minute it's vaccines, next minute it's climate change, next minute it's about Trump, next minute it's about Boris Johnson, next minute I'm just like, how do you find time for so much outrage? How? Read a book.
Yeah. Yep.
Meditate, like listen to some music, have sex, watch a movie. There's so many dance, for fuck's sake, right? There's so many things to do with your time than to doom scroll and outrage at the world that you can't actually change, right? There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
People are outraged about mask wearing, right? I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. They're trying to control us. Bro, it's happening. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna go? They're gonna march in Trafalgar Square. Good luck. Nothing's gonna change. If they decide that we're all gonna get a vaccine, we are all gonna get a vaccine, bro. We're all gonna get a vaccine.
Yep. Yep.
If they decide you can't travel without a vaccine, you can't travel, bro. You can't travel. Can you travel without a passport?
Nope. Absolutely not.
That's a violation of my human rights. Who do I take it up with?
Yep.
Because I don't want to have a passport. I don't want you to be able to just control me like that. Good luck.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And I guess in the world where we live in is that with social media, it has given a platform for all kinds of voices. And, you know, it does feed into that sense of significance where, you know, I've got this platform to express myself. And I think the challenge that we see in the social media world is that it's people who are highly driven emotionally that tends to speak out in the first place. I believe that the majority just couldn't care less, right? And then you've got the segment where they feel that, okay, this is a problem, I need to speak up about it.
And then there's the manipulators. Because you're always going to get the manipulators who are grifters that see a chance to make money or to make their fame from, or to increase their social status from triggering people to be upset, right? Because people like to be upset. They're going to feed into that addiction and then more people will follow them. If you take, for example, a David Icke or whatever, right? He loves it. He's so smug and he's so happy that people are listening to him. The best thing that ever happened to David Icke was COVID. No one gave a shit about David Icke. You know, he's had little bumps and squeezes this whole time or whatever. But the second that COVID hit and he could be heard, he was platformed all over the place and he was loving it. And I saw it in his narcissistic face. You know, like, David, what's the answer? And he's like, well, you know, I got the answer. It's like, wow, who's buying into this shit? They love it. The manipulators are the worst. Then the sheep, whatever you want to call them. And then the rational. No one cares about the rationals. No one gives a shit. No one cares.
I think the problem with the rational group is that it's very easy to get down to just facts and logic, where emotion, storytelling is not layered into it as you know, the rest would do, you know, where and a lot I believe that there's also, I mean, there are certain segments of the rational group where they don't have as much conviction behind their statements. Why? Because inherently, there is also the belief that we live in a probabilistic world. There are certain uncertainties which we are unaware of. We don't necessarily think about 100%. This is it, right? It's true up until this point, until it's proven that it isn't, right? We always leave room for that uncertainty. And I think when you pit up just on the level of certainty, you're gonna lose out, versus someone who...
There's another problem. When you're a rational thinker, you can't come to terms with people who are irrational. You don't understand how their brain works. So somewhere in your mind, it's just like, no, it's going to be okay because everybody thinks rationally, no?
Yeah.
So you don't really fight for it because you just think everyone's going to come around to it. Like, you can't be that crazy. And it seems that people are that crazy.
Yeah. And
right?
Yeah, I think it's...
because you can't like think in an irrational way. It's like, I've had this a lot of times where something happens and I'm just like, how did you even end up in that situation? Like, how did that happen to you? How did this thing happen? And then you look back and you're just like, because the rational people didn't say anything. That's why. When there's a saying, I think it is I can't remember who said it, but all it takes for bad things to happen is for good men to do nothing, right? Those good men don't do anything, and it's not out of fear. It's because they don't think that it's going to go as far as it does.
Yep.
They can't believe that's going to happen. If you think about something like the Holocaust, the people at the time could not have conceived that was a possibility.
Yep.
Because it doesn't make rational sense. You're just like, no. And I'm sure that even after it started happening and the rumors were spreading, people were probably saying, no way. They would never just gas people in, like, who does that?
Yeah. And I think
right now we've got that situation, right? About people of color and their interactions with police, right? Being a black person, but being a white person, you don't understand. You can't understand. It's just like, they would never do that. Just because you're black. No. It's just like, yeah. They even let the cat out the bag sometimes. They say that you fit the description. What description is that, sir? That I'm black. Like, what does that mean? Do you stop every white person and say, you fit the description? Like, of course you don't. Doesn't make sense to say that. But a young black man was walking down the road and you fit the description. Like, what about the other 1,000 people I'm seeing around me? What are you saying exactly?
Yep.
Right? So they let the cat out the bag. But if you're not, like I said before, if you've never been around black people or whatever, you're not going to understand this stuff because it doesn't make sense to you. That they would just stop black people or whatever. Like, why would they do that? That doesn't make sense. The police do their job to stop crime. It's like, as well, yeah, they do. And there's other underlying things, like, you're gonna get people who have an agenda joining those forces because those forces give them power, and they can abuse that power. It's normal. It's normal, bro.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to maintain the conversation to actual facts and what is, and not to stray into hyperbole and overgeneralizations. And, and it goes back to what you share, where when you overgeneralize, then all the noise just flirts out the facts, and people are unable to embrace the reality,
the signal.
And
then it just it dissolves because it doesn't make sense. When there's too much noise, it all gets dissolved. And what people will do is they'll start making patterns that aren't there.
And I think people will have to just acknowledge it as a fact that, we are all humans, and with just the way we are designed, we are
Yeah, yeah,
designed to be as efficient as possible. So therefore, we stereotype, we
yeah,
generalize.
and we see patterns.
Yeah, yeah,
We're a fucking pattern recognition machine, because once upon a time that was the difference between a snake in the grass or a stick in the grass.
yep, yep,
And if you got it wrong, you died.
yep, yep. That's right.
Right?
Yeah,
Like, oh shit. So anytime you saw something with this color scheme,
yep,
you ran for it, like the ones that didn't run for it, bro,
yep.
they died.
Yeah. So it's understanding that survivorship bias within our gene pool.
Yeah, yeah, of course, 100%, or else we wouldn't survive, right?
Mhm,
So then if you survive with those traits,
mhm,
then it's gonna start getting it wrong.
yep.
Because of course it will, like you're gonna see a stick that's that color, and say there's a snake, and there isn't a snake,
Mhm.
and cause panic for no reason,
That's right. Yeah.
or cause stress for yourself for no reason.
Yep. Yep.
So sometimes people will read a status and they think you're talking about them, and they're the furthest thing from your mind. They're not even part of the conversation or the equation. It's just like, I've had that before. Like someone will write me and be like, "Are you talking about me?" It's just like, what? Yeah, because I said something or blah blah blah, and I'm just like, no, bro, what are you saying? I don't follow your page. What are you talking about? I don't follow anyone's page. I see what comes up in my news feed, but I don't care what anybody else is doing or whatever, man. Yeah, if something interesting, or I hear about something interesting, I might visit to read that specific topic or whatever. But I don't go to people's pages, bro. It's no.
Yeah. And yeah,
I don't care what anybody else is doing, man.
yeah, I guess because of how personalized social media is essentially fed to us, it also it builds up that problem where we start being self-centered, where we feel that everything is
Well, we're all self-centered, so of course we think that. I mean, I've fallen into that trap sometimes. Someone will say something, I'm like, are they talking about me? But I stop it there, because I'm just like, if they are, I don't care. And if they're not, I don't care. Why am I going to react?
Yep.
I don't care. I don't care what anybody thinks about me, bro. Really. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
You either talk to me or you don't. I don't care.
Yep.
How am I putting my value in what other people think? That's for teenagers. It's teenagers. You're supposed to grow out of that shit, peer pressure and all this kind of stuff. It's just like, that's the testing ground of becoming an adult. And when you're an adult, you should have grown out of that shit.
Yep. And so you also mentioned about health and well-being amidst this environment of the pressures. I mean, essentially what I feel is that never in our history have we humans been bombarded by so much stimuli and information.
Never.
Right? Yeah, and the stress that it causes to our bodies, consciously or unconsciously. And not only that, we are downloading information and different speech patterns in our minds where we're talking to ourselves, right? So I understand that through your postings as well, you do talk a lot about health and well-being. When did you start embracing this aspect of it? I know you mentioned about meditation, and I believe you also mentioned about things like intermittent fasting or whatsoever.
The journey's been long and arduous, but I think I started doing martial arts at 12 years old, right? But you're a kid, you don't really take it seriously, although you are serious about it. I think my first exposure to health was 16 or 17 when I started to do Tai Chi. That was my second major art. And the teacher expressed about health. And of course, as a teenager, it's like, yeah, okay, when I'm 50 maybe, right? But you do become aware of it, of health, alignment, especially through Tai Chi, right? Like all of these kind of health related things start becoming a thing. The next step was being exposed to Public Enemy at maybe 19. So Public Enemy come out and they talk about Louis Farrakhan. And Louis Farrakhan, you go down that rabbit hole and you end up with Elijah Muhammad. And down the Elijah Muhammad road, path or whatever, you end up in eating for health and how to eat to live and all of this stuff, right? So even from 20 or 21 years old, I was already eating once a day. Only eating once a day, which is intermittent fasting, but it didn't have a name then. But I was already doing that at that age, right?
Yep.
By the time I was maybe 35, something like this, it had deteriorated, right? Different girlfriends, women are sometimes feeders, so you end up eating all fucking day or whatever, right? So my discipline had gone. And then I got sick. I started to get more sick. And I related it back to my eating. And then I started to do the research and then came across official intermittent fasting and long-term fasts and salts and all of the information I didn't have in my 20s because so much has been learned over the last 30 years, right? And then just took that stuff more seriously. Because what happens is you start deteriorating and it's so gradual that you don't notice. And you don't notice till you crash. And by then it's sometimes too late to fix, right? Thankfully, I think I caught it before it was too late and I turned it around. So now my health is okay. Yeah.
So don't mind me asking, how old are you right now?
I'm 50. I'll be 51 in January.
Oh yeah, because you look really, really young. I mean, it is for your age, yeah.
I look even younger when I get some sun. I've had no sun for like 3 weeks. I've literally been vampiring for 3 weeks, so I'll probably look a bit grey if anything.
Yeah. I mean,
and I just woke up.
Yeah. So I mean, it's great what you shared about intermittent fasting because I think it was 2 years ago, or maybe slightly more than that. I picked up the book Genius Foods.
Okay.
By Max something. Basically, my obsession in my life is really about learning and growing, right? And in order for me to be an efficient learner, I have to really take care of my brain health and how I think, right? So that's what attracted me to Genius Foods. So it's written by Max Lugar. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but basically within it, he shared about how important it is to maintain your cardiovascular system, so that you've got a good blood flow and oxygen to your brain, and all of the different nutrients to ensure that your brain stays healthy and essentially maintains its flexibility to learn and has the building blocks to continue building. Right? Yeah. So that's where I came across intermittent fasting, where essentially I've been on the 16/8 intermittent fasting for like over 2 years. And
do you ever do extended?
I have not done an extended intermittent fast yet. Yeah. Because
I do at least 48 hours, maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. Because from what I can gather and from what makes sense to me, we shouldn't be eating all day, every day. Our organism isn't built for that. Like food was very sparing back in the day. So our system is not ready to be shitting all day. That's why there's such a rise in certain cancers like colonic and pancreatic cancer, because we're just stuffing food down our faces all day and our bodies are not built for this shit, right? So I actually think that eating once every 2 days or something is probably optimal for our species. I don't think many people have got the discipline for that, but I think that that's probably the optimal way to live. Either once a day or once every 2 days. I think so. And like a lot of meat, not a lot of meat, because obviously some people interpret that as pigging out on like a lot of meat, right? Where I mean good quality meat, steak,
Grass-fed.
Grass-fed, you know, like eggs. Eggs is a superfood. All of these foods that they are our superfoods. Stuff like kale and all this, which is just like plastic, those are not superfoods. They're poisons actually to our system, right? But I mean, we can have the nutrition discussion for 10 hours another time. But from what I can see, we really, really have to look at how we eat and what we eat if we want to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Yeah. Brain as well as body.
That's right. Yeah. Because throughout my life, you know, most of my life, I mean, I just turned, I'm 30 this year, so you know, most of my life, I didn't really care about my health. I didn't really care about how I look and all that. You know, it's like, you know, I can operate, I can run, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
and this is bad.
Yeah. So yeah, and then it's only finally when I really sat down and reflected about what's really important to me, where I didn't realize how important diet and exercise was for brain health. Yeah.
Diet, exercise, and rest.
Yes.
It's the trinity, you know?
Yeah.
They're the trinity of good health. And the thing is, you don't appreciate it until you get sick. What good health is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's when you realize, actually, you know, the ability to get out of bed in the morning and to bounce up and do stuff. It's just like, you're going to regret what you're doing today if that's the long term of a result of what you're doing today. People don't appreciate how bad it can get.
That's right. Yeah, I think especially when you're young, you're charged up.
Yeah. But they don't realize that your young years are your investment years. It's just like with money. Right? If you just spend, you're not gonna have anything when you're older. And you might think, when I get there, whatever, I won't care. You will care. You will fucking care.
That's
you know?
Yeah.
Like. You will care, and you may not regret it. I mean, I don't have any regrets as such, but you will care. And when it comes to whoop you, it's not nice, man.
That's right.
It's not nice. It's not nice at all. I've lost a lot of people this year. It's been a particularly bad year for like deaths of people I know personally, you know. And it's there's been no like car accidents or anything. It's all health related stuff. It's all health related stuff, man. Like, like you have to watch yourself.
And I
dangerous
think,
out here.
And I think especially when you're younger, you do not have that framework or really the concept of time, in the sense where you feel that you've got plenty of time ahead of you. You can abuse your body as much as possible. But it's understandable, of course, like, 2 years to a 6-year-old, is their life, right?
Plus you feel invincible when you're younger, man. Like you get hurt and you just bounce back in a day or whatever. I remember when I used to train in my teens, like I would break in the morning at break time, I would break at lunchtime, I would break after school time, I would break in my bedroom, in the front room, I would break in the club, we would go out every Friday or every Tuesday or every Monday, and I'd break there. It's just like, you just recover all the time. When you get older, you can't do that shit. You can barely do that shit in your 30s, It's like there's recovery time. And I mean, when you're young, you don't sleep for 2-3 days, and it's just like, who cares? I'm good. Sometimes I go a whole weekend without sleeping and go to college in the morning on Monday. Can't do that shit now, man. I spent a lot of credits, which I shouldn't have done. Thankfully, I never drank, smoked, or took drugs, so I saved some credits on that side. But I spent some credits on partying and staying up for weekends and, like stuff like that. So hopefully I'm quite balanced and I didn't spend too much, you know, but definitely because of the not drinking, smoking or drug stuff, I think I saved a lot of credits, man. A lot.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people I knew that were like taking drugs, like even smoking weed and all that, they're not all there anymore, man. Their brains have definitely been affected by the use, overuse, and abuse of narcotics. That's been my experience.
So what you mentioned that, okay, for the younger years, you know, it's very important to understand that those are your investment years. What would you advise young people, you know, dancers, or, you know, just young people in general, to do in terms of mental and physical, or maybe even spiritual, if that's an area you'd like to share?
I wouldn't know what to advise anyone. My advice is always going to be the same: education. So do the research, ask the questions, because research isn't necessarily you have to stick your head in books, right? You can ask specific questions of elders or people who actually know what they're talking about, and then put that information in your own package, just like dancing. You go and you learn from, let's take an example. You learn from stretch, you learn from loose joint, you learn from link, you learn from whoever. There's not so many women in that generation. That's why I'm having a problem here. But you learn from whoever, right? And then you put their information together and you build you out of it. And that's what you do. You learn about history. You learn about economics. You learn about politics. You learn about nutrition. You learn about all these things. You don't need to be an expert. You just have to have a general idea. And then you take the information that's useful and create yourself out of it. There's so much information. This is like the best time ever to live. There's so much information out there, you know? Like, you can fix things for long-term investment really quickly. It's the most mobile time in history. Even if we look in the financial world with like cryptocurrency and stuff like this, you can become a billionaire. People have become billionaires. Right? So it's never been that financially, economically mobile ever. It's the greatest transfer of wealth in our history, right? Before, you'd have to fucking get an army and go and kill people and all sorts, you know, like, and that costs money, you know, like, or be born into a family and then get poisoned in your sleep when you're 10 years old. Like, it's not like today. Do you know what I mean? And in terms of nutrition, there's so many studies and Mandalorian. There's so many studies and all sorts that give you so much information. So much. And at this point in history, we know so much about history that we've started to cycle. So history repeating itself, you know? So you can kind of tell, oh, that's what's probably going to happen next. We're probably going to go into a recession. And this is probably going to happen. There's going to be social unrest and governmental overreach. This is probably going to happen next. Maybe people in camps. I don't know. It's a possibility. You know, but if you're not aware, it's just going to come and knock you over when you're not ready.
Yep. That's right, yeah.
Bro, I know dancers that are having financial difficulties, let's call it. And they used to earn thousands, hundreds of thousands, bro. Where's the money? Where's the money? So to all the people that are like, I don't want to single anybody out, of course, but let's say Red Bull All-Stars or whatever, you better be investing that money, bro. You better be investing that money. You better be investing that money for long term and not just paying your bills. Like, think in the future, let me use a percentage of this money to build something. It could be anything. But you need to start investing it, because when it gets cut, you're done. Where's the money, bro? Where's the money? Where's all those thousands that people were earning, bro? I've seen people in video games, in movies, all sorts. How are you poor now?
Mm.
How are you struggling? Where is the money? What did you invest it in?
Mm-hmm.
But in our scene, there's no push for education. There's no push for getting people to sort their shit out. It's just like, yeah, just do what you want. It's free. You know, like, yes, yeah. No.
Yep.
No. Because whoever's paying the bills can drop you at any time.
Yep.
Any time. I don't want to single out Red Bull. Oh my God. Because someone will take this out of context, right?
Yep.
But whatever. Let's take a company like Red Bull, right? This hasn't been a good year for them.
Mm.
They've got no money coming in. Clubs, dead. Festivals, dead. Any of their types of venues where they promote their drink, sell their drink, whatever, all dead. No one's drinking Red Bull right now. So when there's no money coming in, there's only money going out. Okay, so this crisis ends and Red Bull need to tighten their belts. Who are they going to get rid of, bro? Anyone that's a cost, that's not bringing in money for them, they'll get rid of. That's just good business.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't even looking at shit. That's just good business.
Yep.
So there's gonna be a diet. Let's say.
Yep.
And a lot of people are gonna get cut. Let's say.
Yep.
Right? It could be, if Red Bull are smart, kill off all the cultural offices and stuff like that. Kill them all. Because culture doesn't make as much money as sport, right?
Mm.
So that's that. If I was a bean counter, just dealing strictly with numbers, that's what I would do, right? Just like they killed off the music academy. It stopped bringing in money.
Mm.
Cut it. Kill them all off, right?
Yep.
Keep the stuff that makes money. Whatever makes money, we'll keep that. This is business. They're not here to do anybody favors, bro. What the fuck are you even thinking? Yep. It's about business. Bottom line is money, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to cut people. Are you going to be one of the people that gets cut? If you are one of the people that gets cut, have you got anything in place?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If you haven't, I think now's the time to start thinking about that.
Yeah, I think
now's the time to start talking to people like, yo, I got 10K. What can I do to turn that into 20? What? Like, talk to me. Can anybody help me?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I think that's the challenge you find with creatives or artists. You know, there's a certain lack of financial literacy and
all literacy. Numeracy and literacy. They have no knowledge of the things I talk about, like economics and politics, and they don't want to get involved in politics. It's nothing to them. It doesn't affect them, so they think. It does affect you because the world affects you. You don't live in a bubble. And the people that employ you are affected by politics. They're affected by taxes because they're going to pay you. So when they have to cut your pay, that was affected by political decisions, which affects economics. Like, if you don't understand these things, you almost deserve to suffer, bro.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, you don't have to dedicate your life to it, but you can't just think you're just going to be an artist and the world's just going to look after itself and look after you. You're just asking for trouble, bro.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. And it's it's not the extent where you have to think that, oh, you know, I'm going to change the political culture or the policy. No. At the very least, it's just getting to the level of understanding the environment, the political, physical, cultural environment you're operating in, financial, economical environment you're operating in, and how do you adapt to it.
Adapt. And your contingency for getting the fuck out of there.
Yep.
Because, and I'll take an example, let's say Brexit. If Brexit goes too crazy, I'm going to my parents' homeland. That's all I need, money for that flight. And I can figure it out when I get there, right? Although, of course, I've thought further than that, but I'm just saying, do you have an exit plan?
Yep.
If there's a civil war in America, it's probably not going to happen, but I'm just saying, do you have an exit plan, or are you going to get caught up in the shit? If they start chucking people into camps, do you have an exit plan or not? When they started killing people in Cambodia in Pol Pot's time, did you have an exit plan? Because the people that didn't are in the killing fields, bro.
Yep.
Do not think that that shit can't happen again. Whoa. This is the cycles I'm talking about, right? I'm not even on some conspiracy shit. This is just how the world operates.
That's right. Yep. Yeah.
Because it has happened a few times since then, right? It happened in Rwanda. It happened in former Yugoslavia. These things happen. And we're so arrogant. We think, oh, that will never happen in the UK or America or France or these civilized countries. You're fucking insane.
Yep.
They can happen at any time, and you have zero power to do anything about it. You should have an exit plan.
That's right. Yeah. And it's very easy to take the luxuries that we are enjoying nowadays, take it for granted, and things last forever.
I've been there. I've been, because I've had a lot of times in my life when the sun shone on me. Even when I started off as a dancer in the 80s, I was doing shows by the age of 13, earning money for doing shows as a b-boy, as a popper. I was working for fashion shows. I was working for nightclubs, all sorts, like I was earning money from very, very early as a dancer. Then when I became a DJ, I was touring with my bands, right? It wasn't a lot of money, but it was more money than my peers had because I had a job and I was touring. Then when I formed the Scratch Perverts in the late 90s, it was the same again. And there was money just falling out of my ass. When I moved to Holland from that era, and I was working in tech, I was earning lots of money, bro, lots and lots of money. But the sun always stopped shining. I've just been lucky that every time that it went down, it came back up again in some different field because I'm quite flexible, versatile. I have a few different skills, right? So every time I've been very lucky. This time, I'm not so sure, bro. 2020 is a disaster. I don't know what 2022 is going to hold. 2021 is a write-off as well. I'm calling it now. Write it off. Don't plan for 2021, my friend. It's a write-off, or at least half of it is going to be a write-off. And then it'll just be like recovery till 2022. And then hopefully by 2022, we'll be back in some sort of system.
Yep.
But if you haven't planned for that time, you're going to get fucked. Yep.
Yeah. And what, you're also big in coaching. And how did you get into that mentality of wanting to coach and to teach people?
I've been teaching since I was 14, bro. It's a character flaw, baby. In fact, I've been actually teaching since I was maybe 12. So even when I started learning about computers and stuff like that, I was already helping others. Let's call it that, right? If you don't want to call it coaching or teaching. I was already, because I learn things quickly, right? Again, another character flaw. So I learn things quickly and I get it and I can help others and still develop myself, right? So I have the lucky ability to improve myself and help to improve others without dragging myself down too much, right? I can take a 10% hit. It's okay. I can deal with it, right? And even from 14, I was teaching the girls in our crew the routines and moves and everything, right? I started teaching martial arts since 96, maybe. Yeah, 96. And since then, you build a habit for teaching, you build a method of teaching. Then I started teaching the B-Girls and Mavericks 2003, 2004 properly. And then, yeah, you just end up in it. Like, it's something I enjoy because I like to be entertained, right? And watching people learn and do the things that you teach them is very entertaining. To see different perspectives of the information, right? I teach a bunch of poppers the same way, and they all express differently. You know Breaks, you know Marvel, you know Brooke, like all of these guys, they've learned from me, and they all express it differently. So I see different aspects of my advice. The advice is the same with some whatever. I teach all the same and pay special attention to their skills, let's say, right? But it's the same. And yet they all speak differently in this language of popping. You can't tell me that they dance the same. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe you whatsoever. And that's the same with Soul Mavericks. That's the same with the guys who train house on a Tuesday. That's the same with the people I teach locking to on the DL. Like, they all dance differently. It's the same information, but you learn how to nurture specific skill sets by improving your method of teaching, right? You identify what their skill is and you help them to nurture it. Like, you can check this with any of them. Do you know what I mean? I'm not just talking out my ass, right? You can talk to any of my students from any style that I teach, and they'll all tell you the same thing. They'll all tell you the same thing.
Yeah. So like for myself, you know, I train a lot of speakers, trainers, and coaches, and you know, I'm always intrigued at the different principles that allows effective coaching, teaching, or essentially the embodiment of, you know, the knowledge transfer into another being, essentially. So what through you know, these decades of experience of teaching and coaching, what are your key principles to becoming a great coach or teacher?
I don't know, man. It's attention to detail, attention to them. So you really have to learn to identify where their weaknesses are and how to help them to. So there's two types of students, right? There's students that they just need a push. They already got something. They just don't understand what it is or what to do with it, right? Luckily, I think that's a lot of people I teach. I don't know if they're attracted to me or if it's just luck. I've no idea. Right? But a lot of them have ability or potential. Oh shit. You hear? I need to plug the power in. They have ability or potential that is unused and unrealized, and I help them to get further along where they're trying to go, or even help them to find out where they want to go, because sometimes they don't know where they want to go, right? Just give me 1 sec. I'm gonna power my baby up. Okay, we're good. Okay, so then there's that aspect of it. Then there's some people that they don't have any skill or anything, right? But through your nurturing, they can be better than they were. So they can realize a potential that they don't even have, right? Because there's people that they're not very good at dancing or whatever it is, or fighting or whatever. But you can nurture something, a seed. Because if they enjoy this activity, then why would you stop them from enjoying it? Do you know what I mean? So to facilitate their enjoyment, you give them a seed, a kernel of something that they can explore. And okay, they're never going to get high level, but they enjoy that exploring, right? And that's your gift, and their gift. Your gift to them and their gift to themselves, right? You pay attention to all of the details. You encourage them to think. You encourage them to grow. You encourage encourage them to understand themselves, I guess. Where are your strengths, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Where are your weaknesses? Work on your strengths, but work harder on your weaknesses. How do you learn? What is your method of learning? And how can I maybe make that bridge? Because not everybody learns the same, right? Like some people, you can cuss them and they get better. Some people, you cuss them and they break.
Mm.
So you have to be very careful which one you use where,
Mm-hmm.
and you get it wrong sometimes. It's never, ever going to work perfectly, right? Mm-hmm. But, you know, you try to address your failures because they happen. I don't know, man. It takes a lot of time. It's very time consuming. It's very brain consuming, because sometimes I'll be teaching someone and we could be knocking at the door for a long time. And then one day I wake up and I'm just like, I got it. I know what it is. I know what your problem is. I know what it is. So my subconscious is working on their problem in the background. And then we solve it, right? Sometimes we're going for ages and then they figure it out, right? And then they say to me, oh, this is what happened and this is how I figured it out. And it's like, okay, now that's in my database. Right? Like, oh, good. So the next time I come across this issue, I can help someone sooner because I'll have an extra option. So now I've got 5 options instead of the 4 I used to have. So that when someone's having a problem, maybe their solution is one of these, or a new one built from 2 or 3 of these mixed up a bit. I don't know, right? But you're trying to help that. You're trying to help them to get that. Which is, you know, it's why people stay with me for fucking years, you know? Like, people who are way better than me, way better than lots of people. Like, their level is way high. But they still come because I still have some value. I still have a perspective maybe they appreciate, you know, even if it's just the motivation to keep going. You know, like I've prevented a lot of people from stopping, you know, like just by shit talking them or achieving things just by shit talking them. Sometimes that's enough, you know. Like, yeah, I teach technique, I teach history, I teach what's dope, what's not dope or whatever. But that's just one part of what I teach. I also teach other things to do with their personality or whatever else, you know. Like, that's why I reckon I'm a coach and not a teacher or whatever. I'm more of a coach / mentor because it includes the teaching of the physical skill and all this sort of stuff. But that's only a part of it. It's only a part of it. You're trying to help people. And either by carrying them or helping them to help themselves. I think that's what you're trying to do. And no, it's not a perfect process. But I mean, I haven't stopped in almost 40 years. So, you know?
Yep. So how is it, you know, as a coach, you identify, you know, this, or if at all, you know, you identify and say, okay, this person is cut out to be the very best in this field, you know, and then they just need that push versus
it's pattern recognition, isn't it? I've been lucky, bro. I've probably been the luckiest person on the planet. I've met the absolute greats in my time. I've met all of the greats, bro, really. Almost of every generation that's of our times, you know. So I've met Don Campbell, I've met Shabadoo, I've met these people, and they have Poppin' Pete, Skeeter Rabbit, Boogaloo Sam. I've met Ken Swift, and I've met Storm, of course, and Float, and Brian, and Chino, and all of these people. I've met them all, Stretch, and Link, and Blues Joint, and Ejo, and Sekou, and Tony, and oh my God. I've met these people, and they have a thing, and I can recognize this thing because I've met so many of them. And you can identify it. It's like a tell. You know, like, oh, this is that thing. This is that spark. I see it. I see it in Sonny. I see it in Victor. I see it in Thesis. I see it. I see it. I see it in this kid Lorenzo now. I see it in Grom. I see it in North Diamond. I see it. It's like it's so bright to me. I can see it a mile off. Really.
If you were to put words to these patterns, what would it be?
You can't articulate something like that. It's like what does sexy look like? No idea. No idea. But you know what it looks like. You know what it looks like. You know the difference between Nicki Minaj and fucking Jessica Alba. There's miles away. Miles away, bro.
So
or Salma Hayek. Like, you know, like fuck, crazy. It's miles away, bro.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily what they do. Would you say that it's a certain kind of energy and aura which
yeah. And I don't believe in that stuff. I'm completely a rational physicist, scientist type of person, right? But there is an emergent property that you learn to recognize, that you see, and you're like, oh, that's definitely a phenom. Green Tech. The second I saw him, I'm like, this kid's a phenom for sure, for sure.
And so when you get this signal, how do you recognize it within yourself? Does it?
I don't have it.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like when you recognize externally, when at that moment of realization, is it an emotion? Is it a thought that comes to you?
It's a mixture, because the emotion I feel is happiness that I've lived to experience this person. Do you know what I mean? Like when I see a Junior Boogaloo or a Poppin' Pete pop, bro, like, or a Dokun, fucking hell, bro. I get goosebumps, man. Really, like, I live for that. I live for that moment, to see the beauty, the art of it. You know what I mean? Like when I first saw Thesis, bro, I couldn't believe it. It was just like, I can't believe this. This is insane. Same with Victor. I was just like, this is insane. This is so dope. I don't know what's happening right now. And I could just watch them all day. I could just enjoy watching them all day.
And where does this sense of happiness emanate from, if you were to be able to pinpoint it physically?
My stomach, my skin, just everywhere. It's a pleasure to watch certain people do their art, bro. It really is, man.
Yeah.
So I'm getting the enjoyment of its technical level, and I'm getting the enjoyment of its other level. I hate to use the word spiritual, but that other level, right? That touches me. I'm getting that enjoyment. Like, yeah, man. Bro, I could watch Dokun Pop all fucking day. All day.
Wonderful.
Doesn't bore me whatsoever. And there are people that are super high level, but it's not as natural. You know?
Yep.
Like, I enjoy them, but I don't get that feeling.
Yeah, and I think it's great how you described it. I mean, it's literally a gut feeling.
It's a gut feeling, yeah. And our brain and our guts are linked, as we found out through nutrition studies, you know. Our brain and our guts are like, they're slaves to each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, to see someone, like, bro, like, I was there when Kenny came back, you know. I was there in those late 90s, 97, 98, when Ken Swift came back. You can't even explain what that was like. Because I saw Kenny when he wasn't back. Right? So 93, 94, Battle of the Year, he's not back yet. Not even back. He wasn't anywhere like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't have enough exposure to pre-90s Kenny, only like bits of footage or whatever, right? Which is incredible. But my experience of Kenny really starts 93, right? When he comes back to Europe and blah, 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 blah. That's when you meet somebody and see them live, and it's a different experience than being at the other side of the barrier and they're on stage. It's not the same. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then Kenny goes away. Then Kenny comes back, and it's just like, you've literally just reinvented breaking, my friend. You've literally just reinvented it, like literally. And you know, people use the word epitome or whatever. This is like, you literally are.
Yep.
Sorry.
And I think, yeah, hearing from how you describe it, would you say that it's that sense of feeling where whatever it is internally, be it within your soul, the creative spirit, there's this channel that comes out physically into this reality where there's no barrier, there's no filters, where you know that it's coming from something deeper. I mean, essentially from some deeper source, and then it feels.
I guess so, but I don't believe in all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But I would say, yeah, it's like something in my pattern recognition machinery likes that, you know. It feels something for that. Like the timing, because it's about the timing of it, the presentation of it, the shape of it, the changes of shapes of it, the way it moves, like whatever that thing is, I'm attracted to. It's like with the sexy girl thing, right?
Yep.
There's something about the way they move or whatever it is. You can't put your finger on it. No one else in the room might even notice them. But there's something about their energy or whatever it is you want to call it that inspires you.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And with those dances, it is that thing. Like, there's something about what you do that inspires me, and I'll watch you all day. I'm good.
Yep. Yeah. I guess on one level, it's what Stephen Kotler would share, is that state of flow.
Yeah, it's the flow state.
Yeah, the flow state people get in. That's where the charm, the charisma, the expression comes out fully. Yeah,
and I've been exceptionally lucky. I've got a number of ways to enter my flow state, and one of them was completely by accident. Which is Pac-Man. Yeah. If you want to learn how to enter the flow state, learn how to play Pac-Man, learn the patterns. It's only like 5 patterns, right? But what happens is when you start doing it, you practice, and you should use your fingers and not a joystick, right? So use the arrow keys, right? When you learn the patterns, you just repeat the patterns. And when you get to stage 19, the pattern is the same from there all the way to 255, right?
Wow.
And it's going to take you about 2 hours. So for 2 hours, you are in the flow state. Because if there's any disruption and you come out of it, you're almost sick. Yeah. Like, it's like, like this. So if you die, it knocks you out of the flow state, and it's very annoying, right?
Yeah.
But if you manage to go, you're somewhere else. You're just on automatic, bro. Really. It's the easiest way to enter the flow state without learning free diving or whatever else, right? Like, learn Pac-Man and its patterns, and you can enter the flow state for free, right? The other place is martial arts, of course. When you're at the level where you can just let the movement take over, right? Bruce Lee talked about it in Enter the Dragon, where he says, you don't do it, it happens by itself or whatever, right? There's a point in your training where everything just flows and you are not thinking. You're reacting at the speed of thought, and you are in the zone. We call it the zone, right? The same thing when you can do it in breaking. When you can freestyle and you're just going. You understand your steps, you understand where your body is, and you are just going. Right? Breaking is a little bit harder because you can't maintain for long enough to really enter the flow state. Do you know what I mean? With Pac-Man, you could do it for 2 hours. With sparring, you could do it for an hour. Do you know? With breaking, you can't break for an hour in the flow state. It'll keep getting interrupted every time you finish a run. Right? So I've been exceptionally lucky to experience that state with at least 3 or 4 different disciplines. Yeah. And I mean, you know, if you're coding, you can get it. I don't know if you've ever done coding before, but sometimes you don't even wake up for 2 days. You're just in the zone, and then you realize you haven't eaten, and it's not that healthy. You're problem solving, but you're problem solving offline. You're not actually problem solving. You are literally problem solving. It sounds a bit weird, right? But it's just like you're moving things around until the puzzle fixes. You're not like taking time out to think about it or anything like that. You are literally on there, like programming. Your brain's going, eating up energy. You're losing weight because of it, and you are in the zone. Chess players do it. I saw a study the other day about how many calories they burn in a chess championship. It's an insane amount, bro. You should look it up. It's an insane amount. If you want to lose weight, learn chess.
Yeah. I think it's very easy to underestimate because we are so used to seeing physical movements as equating to taking up a lot of energy, but thinking.
The brain is so resource hungry, bro.
Yep.
It's greedy, and it kills you without effort.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's literally, it's a painless exercise because there's no physical pain. Do you know what I mean? But you're burning calories really fast.
That's right.
Really hard.
Yeah. And I like what you shared about flow state, and you know, I love seeing flow state being shared from different fields, and you know, you can recognize it.
You see it straight away.
Yeah. And especially
there's some footage of Fax. You know Fax does slow motion.
Yep.
So he does a solo at Juste Debout one year, and it's just like you can see him preparing, and then you see him go straight into the flow zone, and it's just like you just left the room, didn't you?
Yeah.
Because you can't do slow motion properly if you're just moving slow. This is not slow motion. Slow motion is a state that you put yourself into.
Yep.
Right? People think that slow motion is like you move slow. It's just like no.
Yeah.
It's
that feeling. Yeah, I had the privilege to be able to learn from him during one of the breaking conventions in the
yes, okay. Then you know who it is. Yeah. His
Yeah.
eyes go, his brain goes, and he's in the zone. He's not in the same room as you for a second.
Yeah. And I mean, you see this in speakers, you know, great orators and all that as well. Great teachers, where it's always a very special moment and feeling when you're able to see an idea literally come into this reality. When you recognize that, you get that gut feeling, right? You get that goosebumps. It's like, wow, where did
it's the language, right? That language is shared symbolism. So if they can communicate to you what they're feeling, doing, expressing, it's the purest form of language. They don't have to say anything. You know, even a speaker, even though they're speaking, it's not that the separate words, it's like the whole property of it. They're giving you a message. Do you know what I mean? That's why there's these people like that we think of as gurus or whatever else. They are packaging this thing and plugging it directly into your brain.
Yep.
Right? With no filter. It's just pure.
Yeah.
So if someone does that in movement art, it's the same, you know. And if you notice, when a good speaker's been on, If you see them after, they're sweating their asses off, bro.
Yep.
Because they've burned so much from expressing it and saying it and thinking it.
Yep.
Their shirts are sweaty, soaked.
Yeah, and then I always love it where, you know, once you get into that state of flow, you lose that sense of time, where time
of
doesn't
course.
exist. Yeah.
No, when you're coding, when you're playing Pac-Man, when you're sparring, it's the same. It's the same.
Yep.
And you only feel the burn of it the next day. So like if you spar hard and you go in the flow state, you don't even realize when you've been hit. You don't even realize when you've hit somebody. You don't realize that you're tired. Like it all hits you the next day when you're just like, oh, what did I do? Yeah.
And what do you find that now? What I realize is in social media or in terms of the well-being realm is there's a big focus on breathing, right?
Yes.
And I believe that breathing is also very important for flow state. What are your thoughts on that?
It's the not breathing. That's the thing. So when you do head spins, right? When you train head spins, when you get good head spins, you enter the flow state, right? But also when you do head spins, your breathing is different. The regulation of your breathing is different from just doing normal moves. Head spins are where you relax, right? All you need is stasis energy to hold a shape or whatever. But the feeling of it, bro, it's almost euphoric. Anyone that does head spins will tell you this. It's a euphoric feeling. Like you're almost like this.
Yeah.
It feels so good, bro. And it's also because you're slightly asphyxiated. Because of the breathing. So a lot of these breathing techniques, they're actually ways of being asphyxiated. To stop breathing so deeply or breathe so deeply that you give yourself a little bit of hyperventilation, which affects the amount of CO2 and the amount of oxygen. So you're kind of diluting the oxygen and increasing the CO2. But whatever it is, it affects your brain chemistry.
Wow. It's very interesting. Yeah. And one thing that I like to ask very deep and thoughtful thinkers like yourself is, what's the rabbit hole you're currently in, and what's the edge of discovery you're at in that rabbit hole?
Good question, isn't it? I don't know. Probably this social justice stuff. Probably. Like I've become very interested in this regressive left and the move away from reason and rationality as our tools for navigating this world. I'm deep in that. I listen to people like Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris and all of these guys that are like maybe slightly borderline for most people. And then the absolute crazy people whose names I shan't mention, but fuck them. And then, you know, like people like Peter Boghossian, and so there's it's such a weird thing, man. There are these, it's because it's such a big spectrum, right? So you've got people who have noticed there's a problem, like Brett Weinstein and his brother and his wife, Helen Herring, I think her name is, and there's all these people, Megan Murphy. All of these people know there's danger. We are in a dangerous position because of the far left and their politics, right? But some of them have got so caught up in it, they've pulled too far the other way. And now everything that the left says is wrong. So they've lost all sense of their center. So they're just saying anything, like there's no racism and stuff like that. Systemic racism doesn't exist. Yeah, it does. It's being oversold, but it does exist. It's way better than it used to be. We are in way better times than it used to be. And we still have a way to go. But do not think that it doesn't exist. Right? And then there's the people that make sense and still sensible. Like, I don't know, man. They shift. So some stuff that Jordan Peterson says is too far, and some of it is right on the ball. Same with Sam Harris. Same with this guy Yaron Brook that I follow, who talks about
and
capitalism.
Yep.
Right. So my understanding of that stuff has gone up now. It's not just because before, of course, I was anti-capitalist or whatever because I didn't understand what it was. And everybody says it's bad or whatever, but now I understand it. I'm just like, I can argue under the table about that shit. So that's where my focus is right now. That's the rabbit hole that I'm in. Very interesting because it is playing out right in front of my eyes.
And so from your experience, I mean, since you mentioned about people who go too far, as someone who has coached so many people, and through your own pattern recognition, is there such a thing as a point of no return, or do you feel that there's always an opportunity to rehabilitate and to redeem oneself, to change course?
Oneself.
Yes, oneself.
But you have to want to. Some people are so damaged that they're caught in a cycle and continue to damage themselves. I have a few people like that stalking me right now. Yeah. They're so divorced from reality. They've created their own reality. And it's very strange to watch, bro. I'm their obsession, and it's very weird, bro. And they can't save themselves because they're caught in the circle. And no one's trying to break them out. Or the people that try to break them out, I guess they don't listen to or whatever. And it's damaging them, but it's not damaging me because I don't give a fuck.
Yep.
But watching them like spiral into like crazy is very strange. And then also because of the person I am, it's also very interesting in like a kind of social experiment way. Maybe that's the psychopath in me, I don't know. But like, yeah, it's very strange, bro. I don't know if people can pull themselves out because I'm seeing people who can't pull themselves out, right? So I don't know how far down the crazy train you have to be until you can't pull yourself out. Or if you wake up one day, or if you take it to your grave. Some people take it to their grave, right? Imagine that you have such a response to someone that you can't control yourself. It's insane, bro. You can't bear to see a picture of them or anything. Like, it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I guess for me, because I understand my bias is very much towards compassion and empathy, and I see the human potential, and I believe in the human potential. So I'm also constantly checking myself to see, am I attached to reality, of where people are, where they can be given their state.
Yeah, but that just means you're a thinker, and most people ain't. I'm sorry. In my experience, 99% of people are not thinkers, bro.
Yep.
It's not a diss. I just think it's a feature of our species. There's a lot of waste, right? Like, so many people are born and so many die without making any real contribution to society, right? We have to accept that. They're just drones. It's in every species on the planet, right? They're just drones. They're just worker bees, whatever, right? And there's always more worker bees than queen bees, right? Even in nature. So of course there are going to be thinkers, and they are going to be outnumbered and outweighed by the drones. It's natural. I don't even have a problem with it. Of course, I would like the balance to be higher. It should be 2% versus 98%, whereas it's 99% and 1%. It'd be nice if it was 10% and 90%, but I don't have much confidence in humanity in that way.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah.
Because they always show you 70 million people voted for Trump. It just shows you. It just shows you. And I'm not saying, oh, they're all idiots and blah, blah, blah. I'm not that kind of like ideologically possessed. But the fact is, the guy's crazy. And you voted for him. It's not about Republican, Democrat, and all this weird shit. It's not that. The guy's crazy. He's crazy.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you know, thinking takes up a lot of energy, and people shy away from discomfort, I feel, right? And
what do you think thinking is? Thinking is not natural, bro. Survival is natural. And thinking has come about as a side effect of survival. You know, like to think abstractly. We spent thousands of years not thinking abstractly. And even like for most people in the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, they couldn't read or write. 99% of the population. Thinking is painful. It's resource hungry. It's a waste of time for most people.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time. So it's not like we're this enlightened species and there are some dummies, you know, like it's not that. It's the other way around. We're a fucking dumb species. We're shaved apes with iPhones, you know? So there's like, most of us are not very smart or developmentally mature in our thinking or whatever. And then every 100 years or something, we're going to get, just think back in history, how many people have died and how many were philosophers? How many Aristotles do we have? Socrates. Again, Francis Bacon or Newtons or Leibniz's or whoever. There's not so many, bro. Not so many.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I will always remember the two moments where I started gaining ownership of my thinking and finally stepping into it and embracing it. I think for me, it was back when I was in college where I was first exposed to critical thinking, right? And I say, okay, you've got this framework. Think about things, to look at things from different perspectives. You don't just accept things as it's presented to you. Right?
How many people are doing that, bro? Most people don't finish school. And it's not stuff that, for me, it's like, can you be fit without exercising? No. Of course you can't. It's not possible, bro. It's not possible. It's like pooping without eating. You can't do it. And you can't use your brain properly without training.
Yep.
And that training is exposure to ideas like philosophy, etc., etc., etc. These ideas that have been out there. And I'm not saying that you can't come up with these ideas by yourself, but there's no way you can come up with all of them because it's taken people lifetimes to come up with one of them.
Yep.
So you need the condensed version to even start.
That's right. Yep.
And then what are you saying? Are you a Socrates? I doubt it. I really doubt it. Even my experience with humans, I really doubt you're secretly a Socrates, right? So the chances are you need to read those works to build a framework in your head for you to go further, right? I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, as Newton said. Like, you need to develop those skills. So you just go to the gym and just start lifting shit? No, you follow methods or whatever, right? Oh, I'll just lift this 2 times. Yep, I've done enough work there, and I'll go and run on the treadmill for 2 minutes. Like, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to build anything. You're not going to. It's rubbish.
Yeah.
Rubbish, right?
Yeah. And I think given the state of just how, as humans, we are designed, and you know, our natural version is to do things that's non-strenuous. That's why I think thought leadership is very important. For the minority of thinkers, it's important to speak up, share the ideas, and with that level of conviction.
And we have none in our scene. Who are our thought leaders in the scene, bro? Name them for me.
Other than yourself?
I don't know if I am, bro. I just do what I do. It's not something that I'm trying to do. Do you know what I mean? Like some people try to tell me that I write my statuses for attention. I'm just like, no, bro. I'm just getting that out there. Like, I can't just keep it in here. I need to say something.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, I mean,
the thought leaders.
One person that comes to mind, well, that has been on my feed was Slick Dog, G style from the US. Yeah.
But he's too damaged. It comes from a place of hate. It comes from a negative place. If he could switch that round, and I told him this 10 years ago already, then he would be a benefit to the world. But he's stuck. He's caught in the cycle I was talking about. Still talking about the EBs and all this nonsense. Like, bro, come on, bro. Seriously. Right? And I like Slick, but he's caught in that. He's caught.
I guess it's kind of like Richard Dawkins in terms of the delivery of his message.
He's stuck.
Solid.
He's stuck. And you can't be a thought leader when you're stuck, because it becomes an obsessive ideology. You know, like you always bring the thing back to that thing that annoys you. So you can start with this really high idea, and then somehow you're gonna tie it back. People do it with me right now. Like, someone will say something online, and then all of a sudden my name is coming out their mouth. It's just like, why are you talking about me? What the fuck? I saw this thing the other day, like about Crazy Legs, I guess it was, right? And then this guy in the comments, he's such a plum, bro. He's just like, yeah, but what about the people like Renegade? It's just like, how did my name come into this? Why is my name coming into this, bro? Just to muddy my name. Why? You're not dealing with the issue. You want to talk about me. What is going on right now? Or someone will post something about judges, and then all of a sudden my name is in the thing. Like, why is my name here? What is happening? What am I to do in this conversation? But you're not talking to me. You're just talking.
Yep. So it sounds like your brand has been associated and linked to those topics in those circles.
Yeah, of course, because it's just like, well, they've worked together, so he must be part of it. It's just like, what? I see Legs 2 times a year, bro. 3 times the max. You know, like, what are you saying? You need to start looking at the people that have known him for 30 years. Yeah.
And I think it's very easy to judge people nowadays in the world of social media, where we get snapshots of people, and then we imprint our own biasness and upon it, where we've lost that connection and human touch of getting to really know people and embrace.
But again, you're trying to talk from a position, because you're obviously intelligent. You think that people will think like you, so you're talking like from a reasonable point of view, right? These people have no brains. They only operate on emotion. They're not very smart. So the snapshot they're getting is already distorted. Then it's further distorted by the people that they're listening to, who are also idiots. So it's just like a big idiot pie. And they're just a slice of the idiot pie. They're not even thinking outside of the pie. It's insane. So they repeat the same mantras. Oh, it's Renegade's fault. Oh, it's Renegade's fault. It's just like, you stub your toe and it's my fault. Your woman leaves you and it's my fault. The DJ fucked you up at an event, played the wrong song. Renegade is a DJ, it's his fault. It's just like, everything is my fault. What is going on in the world? And that's where, for me, no disrespect, but that's where Slick Dog is right now, you know? The popping scene is broken because of the EBs. No, the popping scene exists because of the EBs. Get a fucking clue. Get a clue.
Interesting, yeah.
Right?
So I mean, it's interesting just seeing all of this different perspectives and dynamics, and you know,
Well, I've been there. I've seen it, bro. I remember when there were no popping events, bro. Really. I remember when the poppers would beg the DJ for 5 minutes of popping music so they could get down. And it was flashlight and more bounce to the ounce, right? There was no popping events, dedicated popping events. The first one is in 1997 in Stuttgart, Germany. And who's judging? Poppin' Pete. Slick Dog does not exist. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
The scene grows. The reason we have a scene today is because of people like Bruce and Pete and the B-Boy Summit. It's these things why there's a scene right now. They did not exist. You wouldn't even have something to complain about unless these people had made an effort to build this thing that you can complain about. Right?
Yep. And
like I'm very protective about Thomas from Battle of the Year. Very protective. There's no scene without Thomas, bro. I go on record saying that. It does not exist. He is the seed that made this thing come back again, really.
And it's also to understand that it's not that you're saying that they're perfect either.
No, of course not.
Yeah. And I think
I had a big beef with the EBs for years, bro. No one can tell me shit. They can't tell me I'm a clone or a worshipper or any of this shit. Ask Pete. Ask Sugar Pop. I had a big beef with those guys for a number of years, bro. I'm not an acolyte. I'm not a follower, but I'm going to call it as I see it. They fucking changed the scene and they gave more than they've taken. There's no scene without them, bro. There's no China. There's no Korea. There's no Japan. There's none of this. And all of those places are very important to what we have today.
Yep.
There's no Juste Boo without it. There's none of this stuff, bro. There's no popping music without it. Who are you making popping music for if there's no popping scene? It's not being played in the clubs or in the festivals or whatever.
Yep.
Right? It doesn't exist. And the reason it exists is because the Boogaloos came back in the late 90s, bro. I was there.
Yeah.
I was there.
I guess that really shows, I guess, the importance of understanding history to be able to bring context to what we are experiencing today in order to
and that's why history is important, right? And people who are willing to say it as it was, because I'm not on Slick Dog's side. I'm not on the EB's side. I don't have a side. I'm only tell you what I know and what I saw. I don't have a dog in that race, a horse in that race. I don't care. I don't give a fuck, man. I really don't. I'm only going to tell you what I saw and what I experienced. I remember, like most people chatting shit, they don't remember what it was like before there was a popping scene again. They were not around, bro. Or if they were in their town. I've been global since the fucking forever. Global. I've been going to Korea before Korea even had a popping scene. Been going to China before China even knew what hip hop was. I've been in these countries, man. I've been in these places like for a long time, for decades, for fuck's sake. When I first went to China in 2000, hip hop did not exist there, bro. Much less popping and all this kind of breaking and all. No, it did not. I lived in Hong Kong for a year. There was like 5 dances, bro. 2 hip hop DJs. Yeah. And I was one of them. Yeah. Really, it's that bad. It was that bad.
Wow.
And now they have healthy scenes or whatever, right?
Yep.
But if you don't understand how they got there and how that exposure came there and how those scenes grew, you don't know what you're talking about.
Mm.
You don't know what you're talking about, man.
Mm-hmm. And
really.
Yeah. And I guess like through this journey of being someone who is so into thinking, would you say that you're graceful at being wrong? And if so, how do you usually manage that initial push and pull and just embrace being wrong?
Being wrong's actually a lot of fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'll only approach it if the person's respectful in them correcting me.
Mm.
If someone's trying to shout me down, then I'm gonna push back, right? That's just my hood side coming out, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that I won't take on what they're saying,
Mm-hmm.
but it may not happen at that time while we're having the exchange, right?
Mm-hmm.
I might go away and then think about it, and then come back and be like, "You got me, innit?" Right? And that's cool. Like, I'm not that bothered about being wrong. Like, right, wrong, I don't care. Yeah. But I will say that I don't say unless I really think I know. I don't just make a guess unless I say I'm making a guess, right? So I don't like to speak until I'm 99% sure that what I'm saying is on point.
Yep. Yeah.
So the chances of being wrong are reduced. I don't just fucking just run my mouth. I'll speak on it when I think I have the facts. And before that, you'd be lucky to get an opinion out of me without me saying, I don't know, but this is what I think. This could be possible. I'm not sure about this, but, and then I can't be wrong because I haven't committed to anything, you know? Like, can't be wrong about an admitted opinion. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I think that this probably happened, like, you know?
Yep.
I'm not going to commit myself and then have to eat humble pie or say, yeah, breaking's not a sport. And then 2 years later, you're judging sport events. Like, yo, I'm not going to be that guy. You look silly. You look silly.
Yep.
Don't say stuff, you know? Just don't say stuff like that. Just be like, what are you asking me? What can you frame that question a bit better so I can answer it?
Yeah.
But they just jump. They just jump on it, you know, like, yeah, no, God, you look like an idiot.
Yeah. The image that comes to mind is that, you know, you're like this mental foundry that refines all the thoughts and ideas. And when you know you've gotten to its core, then okay, you're willing.
Then I'll speak on it. Yeah. But it's not like I don't want people to think that I think I'm special or something like that. It's just how my brain works. And if it works like that, there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, it's like someone who's fit. There's nothing they can do. I know a woman that I've known for like 20 years at least, right? She's never been to the gym, but she looks amazing. And she's like in her 40s now. She looks amazing. Genetics, what are you going to do about it?
Yep. It is what it is. Yep.
Yeah, what are you going to be bitter about it? You're going to tell her she's lying?
Yeah.
She doesn't go to the gym. She doesn't need to. She's got genetics and everything in line, and it's good for her. I got some skills. I didn't develop them specifically. I just got lucky. Genetics, environment, what the fuck ever else. And it's produced a half decent person. You know, and it's fine. I'm not trying to big myself up or anything. Do you know what I mean? I can't help how I am. I can't help thinking the way I do or whatever. It's just quirk of fate, really. Yeah. So when someone says you're a deep thinker or something like that, it's just like, I don't know. Is that a compliment? I don't know. You know?
It's just your being. Right?
Yeah, it's just how my brain works. I didn't make it that way. If I did something to make that happen, I might accept the compliment. Do you know what I mean? But if it's just like, it's just the way it is, I don't know.
Yep.
Do you know? Like, I didn't specifically train it to be like that. I got lucky.
It's kind of like saying, hey, you know, you're really good at walking or breathing.
Right? Yeah.
It's second nature to you, and that you just
second nature.
Think about it, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what does a beautiful woman say when you say you're beautiful? It's just like, okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, what are they supposed to say?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, work on it. Like, no, you don't. You just happen to be.
So what do you see as the future of the dance scene and maybe even emerging markets that you see different sorts of dances penetrating or cultures penetrating into?
I think we're at a crossroads right now. And we need to get our ducks lined up, as they say. Because it's this reset is going to affect the dance scene. People haven't really considered it right now. But it's not just going to bounce back and the events are going to be back on again, bro. A lot of events will have disappeared, never to return. The new events that pop up, are they going to be the right people doing them, or is it going to be a bunch of grifters trying to take advantage? A lot of dances will have stopped as well. So we're going to need new blood, right? We still have to work on this leadership stuff and education in our scene and the safety of people in our scene and various other things that we need to build structures for. And we should have been building structures in this time off, and instead we've just been doing dumb shit. I think it's open-ended. I don't know where it's going to go. Like, I do know that events are not going to come back the same. Right? I mean, we don't even know what the new rules are going to be. Like, in terms of venue availability, how we can use those venues. Is everyone going to need to have been vaccinated before they can go into the venues? Right? A certain country is going to want people from that country to come because, you know, like we have problems with China or with Britain, with Brexit. Like, what are these things going to do in the long term? Because if you can't travel to Europe without a visa or some other bullshit, how many UK dancers are going to go to events in Europe? How many dancers from Europe are going to come to the UK if it costs more to do a visa than, you know, like there's all these new issues we're going to have to deal with. Like a lot of it, you know? And then the collapse of monetary systems. Like you're talking about the dance scene. I'm thinking about something else, you know? Like, we don't know what's going to happen. I know that economies are crashing right now. I know that the dollar's probably going to crash soon. Those things are going to affect our scene, even though people think that politics doesn't affect them, right? And we may be needing to look at those things and see what their trickle-down effect is going to be before we talk about what we're doing with the dance scene. You know? Like in my earlier example, let's say Red Bull cut all ties with the dance scene. That really massively affects this dance scene. Like massively. There's no one else. Red Bull are king. There's no one else on the board. No one. And Red Bull have got 20 years of experience of working with our scene. Someone's going to take that long to build up that experience. And you know, Red Bull gets it wrong a lot. And they get stuff right. But another entity is going to take long to get up to where Red Bull stopped, if they stop, you know? It's going to take them a long time. And who's going to be their opinion leaders and advisors? Like, if it's not the right people, it's going to be messy, bro, really. It's going to be messy.
And
so I don't know.
Through this environment and turmoil, who are the dancers that you've seen adapt to it well, and you've taken an innovative approach to adapt to the current environment?
I've seen a few dancers like stay on their shit. Like in the breaking scene, Little Zoo, Sunny, Victor, Taufik. These are the people that you're seeing, because there's probably people that you're not seeing that are also working, right? The big girls are insane right now. So people like Jilu, Vanessa, they're pushing their level, even though it's a shit time right now. There's still poppers out there doing their thing. I know Marvel's still training. I know Brooke's still training. I know Sean's still training. I know Breaks is still training and trying to link people up as well. So there's that happening. Of course, Doku never stops. He breathes this shit. So the dope people are still going to be here, 90% of them, right? So the people I enjoy watching anyway, they're going to survive for sure, you know? And we might lose a tiny percent. But then again, it matters if it's still this next November, next December, half of them are going to disappear too, right? Like you can only stay so long, you know?
Yep.
I think that when they come back, it's going to be a little bit awkward at first. Because if you haven't spoken to anyone in a long time, then your language deteriorates. If you haven't battled for a long time, then that conversation is going to deteriorate. So it's going to be very weird to watch the first few battles that are not online battles, right? I mean, I don't know if you watched the Rebel BC one.
Recently, no.
Yeah, recently. I noticed it. Like people were off their game. They had the skills, but they couldn't deliver the skills because they were off their game. They were off their game. Like they've lost their connection to what it is to win that competition. Do you know?
Yeah.
And the right person won, but the journey there was a bit iffy for me, for everyone. Like, oh wow, okay, you're not on your game today, and you're not on your game today, and you're not on your, you know, like it's okay. Of course not. Why would you be? You're not getting that practicing. You're not battling every weekend and seeing people and getting that biofeedback from people and being, you know. So it was very rushed. It was very, I don't want to say soulless because that's not the right word, but it didn't have much connection. They weren't connecting with each other like it was a year ago, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So this is going to last a while for sure. People are going to come back. They're going to be a little bit awkward. The conversations are going to be awkward, and then it will take them time to get back on the horse.
Yeah.
Start riding again.
Yeah. So it's
and then, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me it's kind of like, I mean, in the speaking world, it's very much like you see a speaker who comes on, and then you know that they're just here to share their message, leave it out there, and then, you know, you just want to get the fuck out of there, right?
Yeah. And for me, it's very similar to the whole Korean thing. You know, when they have to go off to the military for 2 years and then they come back and you never see them again, or it's very rare. It's a little bit like that. Because this is basically the military break. And then when you come back, you might be, I mean, they're going to be 2 years older. For some people, that's going to put them in their prime. And for some people, it's going to put them past their prime. Right? Like I see some people talking about the Olympics. I'm just like, yo, the Olympics is 4 years away. You're going to be 30 by then. And Sugar Kicks is going to be 22. I don't know about that. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's great, you know, having this chat with you. We've been on it for, I think, close to 3 hours. So yeah. So I mean, it's always great to dig into minds like yours and to have different perspectives. Now, what would you say to, you know, the dancers, the DJs, the musicians, the creatives out there who are struggling right now, struggling to adapt, and, you know, what are your words of advice or hope to help them bring them through these challenging times?
Whoa, that's such a hard question, man. Because everyone's situation gonna be different, right? it's a layered answer, I guess. So make the most of this time. It's probably the only time in your lifetime you're going to get to have this time free. So if you're a musician, make new music right now. If you're a DJ, practice your skills right now. If you're a dancer, be ready to hit the ground running when this ends, right? Because right now it's the Wild West and we've hit a new frontier. So when this all comes back, everything's going to be reset to zero.
Mm.
And the invites that come will be the ones that you hustle for. Don't think you can hide away and people are going to invite you. It's not going to happen. So maybe a little social media push to keep your name in people's mouths and in their heads. Don't panic. Like, this ain't World War II. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
This ain't. It's not that bad. It's bad. Don't get me wrong. Even I'm feeling pressure. You know what I mean? But there was a time when you couldn't leave the house because there were bombs going off. Do you know what I mean? And that happens in some places around the world still. So it's not that bad. We can still eat. We still got clean water in the West, at least. We've still got access to toilet paper. You know, like, make the best of a not completely bad situation. So you can still develop things and you can still network in this time. You can still mend broken friendships in this time or any issues, because, you know, you're not around people all the time. So you can be a bit more sparing with your interaction and you can heal stuff, I think, you know. But yeah, it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say. It's not the end of the world yet.
Yet.
Maybe next year.
Oh, and
Maybe
interesting to end on with that sentence.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, it's really great chatting with you, Kev. And, you know, is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience?
Education.
Yep.
Yeah. Stop thinking only of the dance or the creative. The world is going to affect you. It's going to catch up with you. Everything's going to catch up with you. So make sure you know what's happening in the world and in different domains outside of your own, or you're gonna get hurt. You're gonna get hurt. You can only be like prepared for a certain amount of things, but if you're unprepared, you're gonna get hurt.
Yep. Okay, thank you for your very wise words and parting words right there. And it's great having you on Thinkers Lounge. And
Thank you.
I look forward to having more of you on this platform in the future.
Oh, sure, man. Just let me know what subject you want to cover.
Yeah, don't just say ambush you something, right?
No. I'm down for chat. You know, I like to share my thoughts or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not so good with this format. I'm much better at writing, but I'm learning the video thing a bit more. Like, to take my time and to think about what I'm saying. Because sometimes when some of the interviews I've done and I've looked back, I'm just like, you were rambling, bro. Do you know what I mean? And maybe I did here as well. I don't know, but it's a learning. I'm still learning.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think you shared very well during this session. And I mean, especially for a format like this where it's long form, there's no time pressure. You know,
Yeah. I love it. It's a conversation.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
cool, man. Thanks a lot, bro.
Thanks once again for joining us.
Let me know. Are you uploading this or anything?
Yes, it will already be on YouTube, right?
Oh, shit. Okay.
We've already streamed it on YouTube. It's already on Facebook right now. But what I'll do is I will process it into different segments, so it'll be different chapters, right? Yeah. Right. So give me some time on that. But
no rush, man. No rush. I just wanted to know how it was going to be, because I can't recommend a 3-hour video to anybody. You know, they'll be like, I don't care about you that much, Kev.
Yeah. Give me the timestamp, damn it.
Yeah, like 2 hours and 15 minutes in. Nah.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, bro.
Great. Yeah, great having you. And thanks everybody who joined us during this stream. Do like, subscribe, and follow our Facebook page and our YouTube page. Thank you very much and see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.